Oh, thank you.
All right, it's 6 p.m. on February 17th. Our city council meeting will call to order here with a roll call.
Julie Weeks,
Here.
AJ Strumpfer,
Here.
Joel Newman,
Here.
Russ Terhar,
Here.
Craig Conley.
Here. I would ask for a approval of tonight's agenda. The council, we've reorganized it a little bit for efficiency's sake, hopefully.
Motion.
Second. We have further discussion on the agenda? First signify with the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? Is there any citizen present that would like to speak on any topic? Seeing none, hearing none. We will graduate to the consent agenda. Added a few things in here. I just want to touch on them really quick. They're things that I think we've vetted and discussed, or things that I don't know that there was a lot of deliberation needed for. I'll just give a quick oversight on those items. If any of the council would prefer to pull those for the actual agenda, certainly do that. In there, you have the appointments to Slater boards and commissions. I think there was a total of 6 positions that we were needing new appointees for. Those are listed in the highlighted yellow for you there. We have underneath that, the Story County Housing Trust Grant Agreement. This is just the physical agreement with MIPA to administer our program for the nuisance abatement dollars that we were awarded in the grant. Remember, those grant dollars will only be utilized if there's a need or a request for those, and MIPA will only be paid in the event that they have to administer part of that program. So it's the outline and the agreement that dictates that, but we don't owe them anything until a grant is applied, and then it's the percentage. The other item is the handbook things. I think we vetted those thoroughly. Craig, I know you've commented back via email, or we're signed off on, I think, some of those corrections maybe.
In the code update?
No, this is just the city pool and general city employee handbook
Yeah, I got.
from your corrections. So I think we kind of vetted those. You had a good list that I think we fixed. And then it's time for our renewal with the Story County Sheriff's Office. And that is in there in the consent agenda. Outside of that, we have our regular items that are typically in there. So that's just an overview of some added things in the consent agenda for the efficiency of the meeting. If council would like to remove any of those, I would just welcome a motion for what those would be. Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda or field any questions related to items in the consent agenda.
Just a couple quick questions sometimes. About a third of the way down the page. No, sorry, I underlined that one by mistake. Most of the way down toward the bottom. Municipal supply water meters for 7,500. That's exactly what it says. Water meter marked for replacing some. Okay.
Mhm.
That it? All right, then I welcome that motion on the consent agenda unless there's other discussion or questions.
Second.
First by Craig, second by Joel. Sorry, Russ. Any of last discussion, last chance, consent agenda discussion? All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed, same sign. And any abstentions there? Okay, we're gonna move into some presentations. I don't see the Story County Sheriff's Office here, which is okay. I know we've asked them to be at the meetings and they do come. A lot of times they obviously don't have a lot of comment and can't share a lot of information about what is going on. But if there's anything that the council wish to relay to the sheriff's office, we can always do that directly to them or via the staff here. We have our insurance broker here tonight in the house, so we'll turn it over to you, Andrew, and take your update.
My name is Andrew Rickliffs. I'm with Arthur J. Gallagher out of Ames. You may not know the name Arthur J. Gallagher because it's brand new as of 30 days ago. We were previously known as Assured Partners, and before that, we were NAP Tedesco Insurance, which has been around for almost 100 years in Ames. Staff's the same, everything's the same, we just have a different name. So as of April 1st, we will be taking over the property casualty insurance for the city of Slater. Quick background on myself, I've been in the insurance industry for 25 years, always on the business insurance side. So spent many years as an underwriter. In the last 12 years, I was with Tedesco / Assured Partner / Arthur J. Gallagher, so. I hope to have the renewal for you guys and gals today. We do not have it yet from EMC, so I greatly apologize. Jerry and Lindsay at summary of kind of where we're at, which you should have in your packets for the board meeting. I'll briefly go through those notes. But just know we are still working on the renewal. We hope to have it here this week. Once we get it, we will meet with Lindsay and Jerry, kind of go over everything, and then next board meeting, we'll kind of present options, discussion items and the renewal. So again, my apologies. We were working hard to get this back to you in time by today. We just did not. So again, handout, I'll go through this handout really quick with you, kind of where we're at. The number one thing we're trying to do for this renewal is we're trying to change the effective date. So right now, your renewal is April 1st. In meeting with Lindsay, she says, well, why can't we make it 7/1 instead to match the year-end fiscal year for you guys? I said we could easily do that. She screamed and yelled. She was so happy. And so we are going to change that to a 7/1 date. So what we'll do is we'll issue a short-term policy from April 1 to 7/1, and then a full-term policy from 7/1 of 26 to 7/1 of 27. So that'll make things easier, I think, from an audit standpoint and everything else, just a match up your fiscal year. Again, we're waiting on that. We've spent a lot of time on the property. So you guys have about $2 million in property currently insured with EMC Insurance. We spent a day driving around with Mark, just all the properties you had. I don't think the property schedule you had insured had been looked at for a long time. We had a lot of addresses that were wrong. We had limits that were wrong, and just a lot of things that just need to be cleaned up. So we spent a ton of time going through that. We've cleaned it all up. Mark was absolutely outstanding through that process, as with Lindsay and Jerry. So we feel really, really good where we're at now, but we're pretty much submitting new information to EMC for that renewal. Overall, the property limits did increase a little bit after that review by about 1.6 million. So we just know we're going from about 22.4 to about 24 million overall from a blanket standpoint. So that will be a little bit of an increase. On the property side, though, your deductibles are very, very low. So we're going to quote some option deductibles, which should represent some cost savings on the property side. I'm not going to go into too much detail today because I probably am going to do it next week. But there's also some benefit on the larger property deductibles that help you in the event of a wind and hail claim. Pretty much meaning if the wind and hail deductible you have today is 1% of the building limits. If we don't hit that, it goes to an occurrence deductible. So the higher the deductible, right now you have a $2,500 deductible. Let's just say we go to a $10,000 deductible. So any building below $1 million is really going to be treated on one deductible if in the event of a wind hail claim. If it goes to that 1% deductible, it's a per building deductible. So again, there are some advantages to have a higher deductible. Obviously, there's cost savings too, but in the event of a large wind hail claim, if it's under, again, as an example, if we use a $10,000 deductible, any building below $1 million, that'll be on a per occurrence deductible. So just a one-time $10,000 deductible, as opposed to a per building deductible. So again, I'll have a little example next month when I have the options laid out for you, but just know I'm going to try to get some higher deductibles for some cost savings. On the auto side, no real major changes there. Your liability limits in general are very, very low. I'm not here to pitch higher limits for costs. I'm just going to lay out options for you that may look different. The way you guys have it today, you have $1 million for auto liability, general liability, professional liability, and also a $1 million umbrella. That's $2 million total you have for liability limits. I would guess most of you, your personal insurance, you probably have $2 million in limits. I mean, from a city standpoint, the limits are very low for the other cities that we represent and also the other cities in the state of Iowa. So again, I will lay out options to you. You can decide what you want. But again, just know your limits are very, very low from what we've seen for other cities. Liability, I'm going to quote some violent response coverage. Again, this is more so if you have a major shooting or a stabbing within the city and just some additional dollars amount that come for counseling services that come. Again, just going to lay out from a quote option standpoint. You guys can decide if you want it or not. But again, just something you don't have today that most of these other cities that we represent do have. On other than that, overall rate increase, I would expect somewhere between a 4.5% and a 6% rate increase. So that's just if, with all being equal, that's kind of what EMC is coming across. Currently you pay about $133,000 for all your insurance. Again, we're gonna increase some of those building limits a little bit, which may bump up a little bit more, but again, my goal is to bring the larger deductibles to kind of offset some of that as well. I flew through that really, really quick, but I didn't want to take a lot of your time, because I don't have a lot of information in front of you. What questions do you have on the insurance piece?
Can you speak briefly to, Andrew, I know this from a past life, but just the appetite of, it's not a very competitive landscape when it comes to insuring municipalities like us. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, yeah, the appetite right now for municipalities is pretty slim. Really, it's EMC and ICAP. ICAP is a pool, which is, again, we represent them as well. We have other cities with them. The issue with ICAP is once you get in, you can't get out. And at some point, probably not this year, but I'll bring a quote from ICAP to you. You can see it, review it. But I can tell you, some of the cities that are in there, they have tried to get out, and it's just hard to get out, because once you are in there, any claims that you have that are open, you take with you. Because it is a pool type policy. It's not a true insurance policy. EMC represents a ton of cities throughout the state of Iowa. They do a great job. The marketplace for cities, the main issue over the last few years has been property. Wind and hail has hit the state of Iowa very hard. Not a lot of carriers are trying to write property, because most of the time with cities, it's older buildings. There's a lot of roof exposure in a very small area, and most of these communities in Iowa have been hit. Also, obviously, ever since COVID, the lawsuits have increased as well, going against any public entity, whether it be schools or cities. It just seemed like COVID really triggered some issues with people internally. You just see more lawsuits coming against public entity operations. So again, options are pretty limited. ICAP and EMC are pretty much your main ones, but I will tell you, for your city size, EMC is a great service. They do a great job with pricing, and the coverages are great as well. And they're based right in Des Moines.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions on the upcoming renewal?
Just for clarity, if it's got a license plate, it counts as auto, so it covers fire and EMS and all those things.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, it does.
And equipment, so our public works mark, all of his tractors, payloader, all that stuff is covered under equipment.
You got it, yep. And we'll have full equipment lists and all that, which next, when I present the renewal next week, we'll go through all that.
Okay,
I forgot to mention, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I sat down with Lindsay and Jerry, and we went over the entire policy coverages, the limits, everything else, just to kind of do a pre-renewal meeting. So they know where they sat today, where we were sitting for pricing, coverages, equipment lists, vehicle lists. We went through all of that, so we feel very good where we're sitting for coverages. Now we're just trying to get the policy back from EMC with pricing.
okay. One last obscure one. Is all of Chad's EMS stuff, is that under the Public Works building? Because I didn't see that one listed separately, like the fire.
I don't know, who?
It's underneath 201, isn't it?
201, okay.
All right. I just want to make sure that was the only gap I saw was.
Yeah, can you see EMS building? I just know addresses now from going through everything.
so-
No,
Right.
yeah.
Isn't that 201 green? Thank you.
Any other
Yes, thank you.
questions on the insurance? Again, now that Mark's here, he appreciate your time. We spent a whole day in Mark's truck. He was driving us all around, and I'm all, getting addresses and this. It doesn't really have an address, but here's the description of it, and here's this, and we got it all figured out.
That's
So,
where we're at.
yeah, so it was.
Perfect.
It was great. So thank you very much. And again, I'll be back next month, but I will be sitting down with Lindsay and Jerry sometime, hopefully the next week, to go over the policy and options. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry, let's just drop to your report.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Want to thank Rich Volker with Snyder Associates for being here tonight to go over the Lynn Street R38 study. Through the budget and CIP process, we've talked quite a bit with Mark and Public Works about water and sewer projects. And so we reached out to MIPA, our planning agency, and Simmering and Corey, who does studies to determine low to moderate income households. And so through that reach out, we learned that MIPA is interested, willing and ready. We have that on the agenda for a very small fee. They're interested in helping the city work on that. The benefit of that is it will help us to apply for like community development block grants, which is a federal grant that we can apply towards water and sewer projects. We sat down, Lindsay and I and Kelsey, the pool manager, a couple weeks ago to talk about what the pool season looks like. She'll be starting April 6th on a part-time status. She will be working on job descriptions, scheduling interviews, which will be in May, and we'll have representation from City Hall staff in those interviews. Working on setting up the pool lessons, the pool parties, organizing the training. She's going to do all the training for all the lifeguards, which will save the city a great deal of money. And then we talked about having her here, having a physical presence at City Hall, and this is in the interim before the pool opens, having presence here. I think we landed on Thursday for, part of the day to help with questions that the general public might have about signing up for lessons or renting the
Rental.
pool, whatnot. And then tentatively, we're thinking June 6th, which is the first Saturday to have the pool open. Emergency planning, during our staff meetings, we talked about emergency planning, and really the focus there was just, generally what's the role of staff and how can City Hall staff help, Mark and his crew and Chad and Brant, with their effectiveness out in the field. And so we had a pretty good discussion, put together kind of a high level sheet, which kind of addresses what those roles are, and we'll be, addressing that again. The storm season is fast approaching. It just gives us some assurance as to what our roles are. Solid waste recycling, there's really not a lot of information there for me to provide other than we did reach out to all the haulers in the city, and they all provided responses to like who they currently contract with, what cities they contract with. They all indicated that they would provide a recycling service. And they also indicated that they would support generally taking the city's solid waste to areas outside of the outside of Sterling County. At that meeting, Marshall County, it was a little, it got my attention because it was a fairly amount of distance. It was like a 55-minute trip. So that's why I asked that, and they all responded that that would not be an issue for them. City of Ames did receive the estimates from their contractors, but they're not providing it to the cities that were currently in the 2080 agreement. They want to first disclose that to their city council at their meeting next week. And then they intend to make a decision about who they're going to go with at their next meeting in March. Library project. Jen and I have been working since the first of the year. We've got a work group of individuals. We met one time a couple weeks ago, representatives from the Friends group, library board, school, city hall staff, library staff, and really just kind of started looking at the existing building and the potential for renovating that. We put together some sketches on some possibilities of space needs, which we turned over to FEH, who was the architect on the previous project, and they put together some conceptual information, which we shared with the work group. Long story short, the work group had consensus that they thought that the project should include library and community space, so it should be a joint facility there was strong support for having this facility on Main Street. We did provide some information about financing and the fundraising levels, the current levels. And, you know, the reality is that, you know, it's very expensive. And so we looked at, or they gave staff direction to look at lower cost options. So pre-engineered buildings, precast concrete. And so we're collecting this information and we're going to share that with the work group next Monday. We have several items on the agenda, a couple of ordinances, which are first consideration, the peddlers, solicitors, city leadership duty roles. We're going to be setting a hearing for proposed amendments to the C1, C2, M1 districts. I did meet with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they're supportive of adding certain uses like bakery in the C1 district, which is where the downtown area, most main streets, downtown areas, throughout America support bakeries, but our ordinance does not. We've got some intensive uses that are in the C2, like a lumber yard and the allowance of storage of materials. And some of those things we're recommending that they be supported in the M1 district, which is the industrial area. Second consideration on the water and sewer rates. And then the multi ordinance 314, which addresses the accessory structure standards, chicken coops, and adopting a minimum site plan standard. Odor issue is here. Thank you, Mark, for coming for that. And I mentioned the study, and then the biggest thing there probably is the acting of the property tax levy rate, going through the budget, and discussing capital improvement projects.
Questions for Jerry? Awesome. Quick updates for me. The previous council elected to hire a third-party partner, Harrison Van Osdale, to support nuisance abatement throughout the city. His role specifically is on a contract basis for a certain amount of hours per month. He travels the city streets, documents items and things that are in violation of the city's codes, provides photos and a written letter in the notification and tracking process. If the resident's home, he'll knock on the door, talk with them about it, but works towards ensuring that some of our nuisance properties get the communication they need so they understand where the violation is, and they get clarity onto what needs to occur to get back into compliance with the code. His letters are very thorough. He does a great job with photos. There's a tracking sheet that the staff has access to, so they can monitor it. I wanted to make this council, being a new council, aware of that and then provide just a brief update. We haven't quite reached a year yet. I think we're probably only about 7 or 8 months in. In that 7 or 8 months, there has been a total of 23 properties that were notified and documented through a formal process that had a nuisance violation. It's a limited period of time, right? So he's worked his way through town. There's probably still segments and things through town that maybe he hasn't seen everything. But he has kept track of those and keeps a running list. I wanted to give a quick update. 14 of those 23 have been resolved in a resolved status. So that means they received the letter, they communicated with him, they addressed the issue, and are now removed off of that list and put in a resolved category. And there's 19 properties in progress currently. Many of the properties in progress, when it comes to nuisance abatement, as you'd expect, a lot of times it's exterior related issues, specifically, overgrowth, trees, shrubs, things like that, but also then siding, paint peeling, those items, which it's not feasible to necessarily be remedied in this seasonality of our seasonal weather, minus this or start to February maybe. But generally, so there is several seasonal extensions that have been granted. And looking at his report, it looks like a lot of those have been granted till into May to try to give individuals enough time to get involved and get those fixed, get out there and get them fixed. We have a lot going on with economic development. I think spring is in the air and people are energetic and excited about a new year. In Slater, we are working on, and maybe some have seen the social media messaging, that Home Needs Bakery, a commercial bakery that's been operated out of a home, is taking the next step to invest in Slater in Main Street. Transparently, they're investing in a building that I own personally, and are looking to convert it into a commercial bakery. They have submitted a application for economic development support. And that will go to an economic development meeting in the next few weeks. There's also a restaurant project we've been working on now for 3 weeks. And working through trying to connect private landowner with restaurateur and then discuss incentives to be competitive with alternatives. The economic development team will review that. We have one property under due diligence in the industrial park. And I received another call today about someone who's preparing to enter into a purchase agreement and due diligence on another industrial park build. So some very exciting stuff there. I would like to ask the council about the week of March 2nd or the 9th, 10th, or 11th about a potential special meeting focused exclusively on some of the results from the economic development meeting. There is the restaurateur situation is a little more time sensitive. And so I am working with Jerry and the committee to pull together what the recommendation is for that. And I would like council to see it and try to sign off on that or deliberate that early March so we can get something formal offered to that individual. So the week of March 2nd would be ideal if it works for individuals. I know we're getting into spring break a little bit as we move in the middle of March. Is there a date in the week of March 2nd that would work best for the consensus?
Second or third?
Second or third? AJ, any problems with either one of those? Can do them both. Joel? Second, Joel's good for.
Daytime by time.
We'll do it in an evening. We can do it in the evening.
You wanna do 6 or 5:30?
We could do we could do earlier if you want to just go right after work or whatever. 5:30 would be the earliest, I would say.
Do earlier.
Just do a 5:30.
On the second.
Yeah. Will that work for you, Craig? Will you kind of pencil that in for us? As long as we can get the economic development team across the finish line on this stuff, we'll be there. We'll also in that meeting review the economic development program, and make sure that we have a program that's designed that's not solely about solely focused on the recruitment and attraction of outside businesses, but also looks at and is considerate to supporting those businesses that exist here already, because there is some language in the programs that don't say that. So that'll be on our list. I did receive one message this week, which was an interesting one. It's not one I've thought about, but it was kind of a complaint it wasn't a complaint. Wasn't a complaint in a negative connotation, but comment about the dog park and handicap accessibility. And something that I hadn't really thought about much, but I would just make note of it, and it's something we should think about a little bit intentionally about how or if accessibility could be evolved to.
I got the same one and I did reach out to that person to ask some questions about it.
Okay, outstanding. That's the extent of the updates I have for tonight. Obviously, staff is working hard. I hope everybody feels that at least with Jerry's weekly reports and the staff reports that he's getting through the staff meetings, and everybody's feeling a little bit like they're aware of what's moving where and how.
Thank you.
Anything on 321?
That's the last agenda item.
Oh,
Economic development needs to talk about that and look at that and determine what they think is the right path for council to
We were
deliberate.
trying to figure out the list of items.
We were building the agenda when we were sitting here, and 321 is the final item of that. And
Maybe
council,
maybe head to the field or new council, the nuisance, the stuff's heritage, to whatever the right term is.
Yeah.
The council could submit suggestions again, right?
yeah, if there's properties, any resident really could, they're welcome to contact or let City Hall know if they saw or were aware of something that appears to be a nuisance. There's one property, a large commercial property in town that I know a lot of people have submitted complaints about that is on the list. Kind of on the northeast side of town, it's on the list. There are certain properties that have been, that commercial entity has been notified about it, so.
We talked about putting that
So,
home drive or something. I don't know if they've actually did that. They want to see what properties have been done.
yeah, I think what I talked to Jerry about was maybe providing like Harrison wanted to be careful about giving everybody access
Oh, okay.
and maybe providing snapshots in time of it. And we can work to try to do better about that.
No, I just wanted people who are interested in.
Yeah, yeah, if anybody is interested, we can get access, you can get access or get the updates or see that stuff. It's pretty easy to do. It's a Google sheet, so it takes some weird permissions that he has to give, and it's kind of, if you've never done the Google Sheet thing, it can be a pain, but we can get you, Jerry can get you or walk you through, or I'm happy to show you that. I think Mark has access, so. But it really is a third party. We chose them because it's third party, it's independent, no bias, no backstory, and I think it's worked pretty well. We have some frustrated people I know that have been frustrated by it, but 14 respondents have responded very positively. And if you've recognized, there's definitely properties that have cleaned some stuff up because of it. So we're grateful for that. Any council questions there, but then also open it to council for any updates that the council may have.
What's the annual cost? Actually charges.
Yeah, I believe we pay $7,000 annually for that. Is that right? $600 a month,
600 a month, yeah.
Yeah,
so just under
I
seven.
think you
or
said
seven.
$7 an hour is locked in for 4 hours from now.
Yeah. Great question.
Go next door, we're gonna do, can we go down to the sewage lagoon place that Mark can get moving?
That makes the agenda moving, but.
I think Mark's prepped to be here, so I think
that's all.
I think we can fly through the way this agenda is set up. If there's no other council updates, I think what we'll do is we'll get into these hearings. I think a lot of these,
Yeah.
hopefully we can move through it quickly. We're good on the presentations? Okay, public hearings. We're gonna do now is we're gonna open the public hearing on ordinance 315, which is for peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants.
Thank you.
We will open the public hearing at 6:32 with a roll call.
Julie Weeks,
Here.
AJ Trumper,
Here.
Joel Newman,
Here.
Russ Turha,
Here.
Craig Conley.
Here.
Perfect. Have we received any public comment related to this in writing at City Hall? Is there anybody in the audience that hears to specifically speak on in the public hearing related to ordinance 315 for the peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants? Hearing none, I will recommend that we close the public hearing at 6:33. We return to our open session here with a quick roll call.
Julie Weeks,
Here.
AJ Trumper.
Here.
Joel Newman.
Here.
Russ Turha.
Here.
Craig Conley.
Perfect. There's discussion and consideration of this ordinance. Before council opens that, I would ask that we look at considering giving the recommendation to staff on this ordinance related to some discussion or thought into the administration of this and how the execution of these permits will be executed and the management or policing of these will be done. Specifically, where will they be available? Can they be purchased online? Do they have to be purchased in person? And give us a little bit more of the ways and means that the ordinance will play out in lieu of what the ordinance says, because I think we've all had the chance to see the ordinance and read it. I would like a little better understanding from staff about how they plan to administer the actual ordinance to the public. And I would also ask at that time for them to look at in the transient portion, discussing and considering whether we look at the food truck related items, food vendors, mobile food vendors inside of the transient merchant, or whether we need to be considering a different ordinance that exclusively focuses on those, and to provide council with some insight onto both of those items. I want to make sure that if we when this passes, we know how we're going to administer it and we can tell the general public how to
I guess-
adhere to it.
I'd like just clarification on how that applies, like 4th of July, because when we do 4th of July, we bring in our own vendors and stuff like that. From the community club, we have a guy who sets all that up, and how do we need to make this work with that? So. Anyway,
That'd be awesome. And if you wouldn't mind, Jerry and Lindsay, Mark, whoever is involved from a staff perspective, maybe connect with Joel offline to work through that and make sure you can explain to the council how that will be fluid. But I think I'd like to understand better, and I would like the council to better understand, like, that we aren't just gonna add an ordinance that aren't sure exactly the process to administer.
Only question I have is similar, the food truck thing is. Whether it's community club or other places.
Mhm.
Want to turn it into a functional nightmare.
Certainly.
We can look into those three things.
If everyone's okay with that, we will move to our next agenda item without any specific action on that consideration. All right, we're gonna move to the public hearing ordinance 316 duties, roles, city administrator, clerk, mayor, mayor pro tem, and city council. It is 6:35 and we'll open that public hearing with the roll call.
Julie Weeks, AJ Strumper,
Here.
Joel Newman,
Still here.
Russ Tarhart.
Here.
Craig Conley.
Here,
Thank you. Any written comments received at City Hall relating to ordinance 316?
No.
Is there anybody in the public tonight that would like to speak in the public hearing relating to ordinance 316? Not hearing any, we will choose to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:36 PM. Return to our regular session and do that with a roll call.
Julie Weeks, AJ Strumper,
Here.
Joel Newman,
Here.
Russ Tarhart,
Here.
Craig Conley.
here,
Now I would welcome the discussion or consideration of this ordinance.
I sent something back to Lindsay and Jerry on his appointments. They had sent it out for us to review, and Nick had noted also that we have.
I don't think we here.
Wait for Taylor, because this one impacts him.
Go ahead.
In the mayor section, it says that you appoint with council approval, which is what I think we want,
Mhm.
but the council section says the council appoints, not approve. And I know after years in the seed industry and all of our lawsuits going back and forth, I'm nitpicky about language. So as long as we're not too worried about it, I'm not, it's just. The seed industry was litigious as hell. So I don't have a big problem with it as long as nobody else does, but it is technically a conflict. We can't both appoint. So, but I think, Lindsay, if I change a word, then you have to start the whole process over again, right?
I think so. No, because it was just a public hearing notice
Oh,
in the newspaper.
Good.
It's after the third reading and it's published. That's what the law is.
oh, okay. So that was just a nitpicky word thing of, I think the council should say approve. Because we can't.
And that's
both
what we
appoint.
talked about, Terry.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I see how it's convoluted and with the same word used in both categories.
That's the current language in the current ordinance.
If it can be adjusted or if the mayor's is recommended and the council is at
Well, no, you. I
If you
think
could just
it's
verify.
supposed to be is you appoint.
point and you
and then
confirm.
We approve.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys could just,
That's what it says.
Yep.
Just add that wording, approval.
I know, but then it says under here, appointments, the council shall appoint the following officials and prescribe their powers, duties, compensation, and term of office with the same list.
The council shall.
Not the same.
And approve.
No,
It
the
says-
council only approves.
The council shall appoint the following officials and prescribe their duties, compensation, and term. And then it has overlap, which is, right, city attorney, building official, library board of trustees, cemetery sexton, parks, rec, planning, zoning, board of adjustment.
I think it's just, yeah. I think
It's repetitive.
appoint for council to approve. I think it's just one word substitute.
Yeah. If you'll check with the attorney or Simmery and Corey, there might be some wording difference,
Nick
but
had flagged it also. in his comments.
I don't know that it's a horrible one either, in the sense that it's like we've operated for a lot of years with it being the way that it's been. As long as we have staff that'll follow the process, we want to hopefully stay cohesive enough that we don't have contention over appointees, but.
Right.
Any others? So, do you want to do the first reading on that one? We're set there. We've had the public hearing. We could make a motion to approve the first reading
With that amendment.
with that amendment.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 316.
316.
And then the next version will have.
I'll take a second from Craig there. Any other discussion related to that? Perfect. All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? And any abstentions? We're gonna move now to the last item in our section under public hearings, setting the public hearing for ordinance 317. This is amending C1, C2, M1. Jerry alluded to it quickly, and then ironically, right, we're amending for bakery, and then I had mentioned there's a bakery coming in. That was what drew the attention to it, but there's other things like greenhouses are not a permitted use of Main Street property based on the zoning. So there's gathering halls were not in there, or public venues were not in there. So there's just some breakdown and really what the intent of maybe what we want available on Main Street or legal on Main Street versus what the word said in the code. This is a cleanup. Planning and zoning has already approved this, and it's coming to us for that.
Only one question.
Sure.
You guys said city staff is supporting of this. This is not my area expertise, so as long as you guys don't see any drawbacks and loopholes,
No,
Then-
and it was fully supported by them.
right, that's what I
The
meant.
MA added it, it should be moved from C2 and placed in.
Yep.
Nobody might
I'll
be
take
here.
it from you, Joel. You ready?
Opinions.
Yep. Make a motion to set the public hearing for ordinance 317 for March 23rd.
Thank you. I'll take a second.
Second.
Second from AJ. Any other discussion there? All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? We're gonna move into the ordinance and resolutions here. Discussion and second consideration of ordinance number 13, adopting the new, 313, adopting the new water and sewer rate increases. I did receive a verbal request on, or a message request through my Facebook account related to this. I just wanted to clarify maybe quickly on the backstory. One of the things that flagged this a year ago was we have an outstanding loan related to our wastewater treatment facility. The covenants of that loan, I think covenants would be the right word, stated that we needed to collect 110% of the operating and loan expense, basically. We were not in compliance with that, had not been in compliance with that 110% threshold. This adjustment through our partners at Northland has got us to where we'll be in compliance related to that on the sewer side of it. And then my recollection and understanding was the water rates we had not made any adjustments to for many years. And that there are several water projects on the radar and upcoming. And this was to get the water rates more in line with where we needed to be preserving and building a solid water fund to help protect our water and actually try to invest in improving our water in the coming years. Is that a fair synopsis of kind of how, where we were and how we've gotten to and why the rate increase came about?
With one, I think the sewer rates only meets 110 if we do pay off one of the associated loans. And we haven't taken that action, so I want to make sure and stuff in light of the capital list we have. Effectively, these are competing needs. If we pay off, if we use around 680,000, I think. If we use that out of the fund, it won't be available for something else. So I want to make sure that the new council is supportive of that, because otherwise this does not get us to the 110%. We have to comply with. Is that correct, Lindsay? We need to pay off one of the two loans, right?
Yes,
Based on the action we chose, which the previous council chose option 2 and approved to proceed that way with paying the loan off and moving the rates to that category. The difference really for the, What's
Didn't we
that?
approve that last one?
yeah,
Yeah,
It's
okay.
been approved.
Okay, I was remote that I didn't catch everything being said.
yeah, the difference for the general public, I think is important to understand is the reason we're paying off the loan is because what our sewer rates would do, or why council elected, in my opinion, was the increase without paying off any past debt would be an 8.5% increase to sewer rates. The increase with paying off the one loan is a 3.5% increase. And so I think council voted because we have the funds, or has directed, since we did have the funds, we have a healthy balance in the sewer fund, that it would make sense to try to reduce the impact to the residents on rate increases to use those funds to do that.
Exactly correct.
Perfect.
So is that, we've approved the action, so you can go ahead and do that?
I think that was already in the
Yeah.
works.
Okay, all
that
right,
was already.
cool, good. I just didn't realize it was actually in the works. Good.
Yep, we're rolling on that one. Is there anything else related to that? Because this would be a second consideration. I would ask, in a lot of instances, you can waive the second and move to the third. This is water and sewer is an issue in the community that everybody knows about. I think we should be respectful of people's ability to participate in readings, and I think we should just conduct the second today and not waive the third and continue to have the third. Just out of respect for the residents who maybe have questions or see and hear this and didn't.
We all agree with that.
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance 313.
Second.
Awesome. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? And any abstentions? G, discussion and second consideration of ordinance 314, adopting amendments to accessory buildings, chicken coop runs, adopting site plan standards, changing process for determining city council meeting date. We've been here on this one, would welcome that, this one, I don't feel, maybe the same as the water and sewers, so if someone would be inclined to waive the second, or to complete the second and waive the third, I would welcome that motion, but I understand if you're not compelled.
Very passionate about chickens.
There is a few people here in town. More so for new chicken,
Yeah, right.
chicken farming enthusiasts. So would welcome a motion here on this if there's not discussion that the council would like to have.
The second, I have to do and waive the third.
And waive the third if you want.
Or
Okay.
resolution 314, or ordinance, I'm sorry, ordinance number 314.
Thank you.
Second.
Second from Russ. Any final discussion? All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed, same sign, and any abstentions. We'll move to number H now, discussion and consideration of resolution 37, requesting to waive subdivision plat for John's Farm subdivision. This is a property that sits to the east of Slater, outside of city limits, but because it's within our 2-mile radius, the request is pushed to us from the county for our approval. It looks like what they're doing is they're essentially just separating what's there into 3 different parcels, adding land to an existing property there, segregating off the farmhouse and barns that sit back behind that, and then separating the farm fields from that. So there will end up being kind of 3 parcels. Is that a fair interpretation?
It's very fair. It's accurate.
So if there's no questions about that, it is right outside our radius, but I think what they're doing isn't at this point.
Just one. I'm not a real estate person. Does this make sense? There's no ramifications that we're not aware of. And does this sit with the whole Story County 40-acre associated with a household?
Yeah, it's gotta meet the Story County development regulations
Okay,
and my.
We're just waiving our right to interject at this point.
The city's standards,
Okay.
since it's outside the city limit.
so you guys having more expertise or Julie, real estate, there's a downside for us.
There's no downside.
Okay.
I mean,
There's just plotting it to do anything like build a apartment complex or anything, you're just redividing it
Okay,
the
the
way
house
it is.
that's closest to
Yeah.
the street, they're actually making that lot bigger, which is a
Yeah.
good thing, and then separating, as the mayor said, the house to the south and apartment buildings.
Yeah, this property was in kind of a attempted sale at one point, so I think this could be
Yeah, it hasn't
part of that.
moved. There's been empty.
Yeah. So yeah,
so
I understand. It's a new one for us sometimes. These ones are. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 37.
We'll move it.
Second.
Weeks.
Can I ask a point of clarification? We did the first reading, we did some readings on ordinances. Did I need a roll call vote on those ordinances?
I thought we had them
What, on the
reading of the ordinances.
oh, you were,
Since everyone said yes, we're solid on are you okay with the roll?
yeah,
Yeah,
we
ju-
do them for,
It just,
313 and
there was all
314.
yes votes. Will that suffice for your roll call vote?
Yep.
Or do you want to, okay,
nope, I'm good.
all right. Just want to make sure that's my miss, my apologies. We are gonna look now at discussion consideration resolution 38, addressing new streetlight for Severs Light Industrial Park. They wanted this through an ordinance, the developer's paying this cost per the development agreement. This resolution 38, yep. So, any questions there?
they're done.
They'll put those lights in, I think. I don't think they're in, are they?
Yeah, very possible.
They're not.
I saw them lit up there.
You
When I
know,
saw this, I'm like, oh.
put their
We'll take a motion to approve.
Back. I don't know.
We're getting.
I don't know.
Motion to approve resolution.
Decide where they went.
Two other brothers, number 38.
I'd like to.
Usually the engineer does or somebody will do a study.
Right,
Like
they were, that where they're
lumens.
supposed to be.
Right.
They're not just random.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
First, AJ, did you get that for us? Second by Joel. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Resolution 39, addressing new street light for North Carroll Ryan Road, Alliant Energy, city will pay for this.
Is that one?
It's a single.
That is on an existing pole. But it's just an ornament.
Yeah.
That's just one that I noticed plowing snow earlier this year. That's.
Mark being observant.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 39.
Second.
All those in favor signify with aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? We'll move into the discussion section. Discussion and consideration of the low to moderate income survey for $200 by Andrew Collins, MIPA, to apply for future grant water and sewer main projects. Lindsay will help, I believe, with this. Lindsay, there is a term, we're conducting this to try to determine whether we're eligible to access a certain pot of funding to support projects.
Yep, CDBG funds.
CBDG funds, which is kind of through the USDA, is that right, or?
Yes,
Federal
yeah,
funds.
federal funds.
Okay. So Lindsay and staff would like to look into that and conduct the surveys and determine whether there is eligibility, and I'm fully supportive of that if you all are.
Move. Go for it.
Second.
Craig first, second Russ, all those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? We're gonna look now here at an economic development contract. The Ames Economic Alliance team was gonna try to be here tonight, but is not. They're balancing a couple different council meetings, so they were not here with us today. As everybody knows, we receive a free service, which everybody knows how good the free service is always. We're grateful for it. But it is free. This is an opportunity to create a deeper level of partnership and to have some deliverables that are actually contractually committed. The other thing that's a real positive for this is the city of Slater will receive a board seat on the Ames Regional Economic Alliance. This is a great opportunity for us to have a seat at a table inside of the region that will be engaged in a part of regional economic development discussion, but also relationship building with several other major organizations throughout the region. We would join a couple other businesses there, or cities there that are local to us, which is a positive thing, I think, to stay in connection and communication. The other things that the economic development team, I think, that'll do well is they'll definitely help us through the grant review and finding process. But they have several other things that they'll be working on to help us attract businesses to things like our industrial park. They'll help with multifamily housing projects or residential developments as we need or request. In addition to working with us to develop, market some of our economic development better as a city. And I know there's a long list here that everybody's seen. Another big part of it is building out a little bit better of a business community. One thing I've noticed in the 2 years I've been here is we really don't have a chamber of commerce. We really don't have a Main Street committee. We don't have a congregating kind of business group that we need to start probably cultivating and building to try to build some energy there. They'll help us do some of that stuff, build a directory, and then do some networking events here in the community and in the region that we're a part of. Overall, I think it's an opportunity for us to get a little higher level of service. The last factor is Story County provides us with an economic development stipend every year, gives us some funds towards that. We can utilize or commit those funds specifically towards this service to offset what our cost is. And then Jerry will be obviously overseeing that partnership, and I'll support, and help him where I can on that, but ultimately making sure that we evaluate and ensure that we feel like we're seeing the benefit from it. This group helped us get the $168,000 grant for the sports complex through the free service. I'm hopeful that by being a paying customer, that there'll be plentiful support for other items.
Benefits of it. Yeah, they do quite a bit. So.
Know the board breakdown?
Yeah.
Like
Of who's on the board?
people, yeah.
I don't know how many people are on it. But I know like Mark Jackson from Story County sits on, or Story City sits on it. Huxley has a board rep on there, but then they have board reps that are, I just saw today in, a post about Ag Certain, which is a Boone company. You know, that the Secretary of Ag was just visiting. They have a lot of kind of regional business type people as well. That are helpful as well. We can get that for you though, who the board is.
Wonder.
It's a-
5 counties, right?
Well, the Ames one is separate, so we would really be a part of just the Ames one, but yeah, they do, this office does support then Boone County, Webster County, Hamilton County,
Green,
and Greene County.
think now.
Yep, you're right.
Drag is nowadays.
Yep, you're right. Jefferson up there, yes. So they do events among those as well. Is there any questions about some of the deliverables, items on there? We'll receive some better reporting from them on a monthly basis too, they led to, so.
And that's an annual fee.
Yeah, which
We change
level of
it, so-
investment are we looking at?
Yeah, great question.
That's the first.
My recommendation, I think, was that we would look at doing the July 1/26 to June 30th, 27 at the 20,000. Use our 7,500 county allocation for a net cost of 12,500 to the city.
That was my next question.
I mean, out of the city's pocket
Right.
versus a shortened period from where we are now to the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, and we're not considered, they just did 27, 28 also was that now.
We're not approving that right now.
So I guess I would be. If they were.
We'll renew that
Right
contract.
now, I would use
Yep.
the second half of this year also,
I think they'll get us on board now, and I think knowing that we're coming on board, we can.
let their level of investment number one cost.
Well, number one, we pay 76.92 between now and the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
I'd rather pay the July start. This date should be 26 to 27. I'd rather tell them that we're committing to the July 1, 2026, but we would certainly expect at that cost that will get us up to speed now.
Is that a fair expectation?
I think so. I think they're amendable too. I don't think we should pay, I would not advise council to pay $7,700 from now till June 30th.
No, because they're already getting 7,500 from the county. To represent us, so for the next 4 months, they can do that.
Agreed.
That we're coming on. We're gonna know.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, I just know we got some stuff coming up.
Yeah, and they're engaged and involved and we're keeping them involved in that. Okay. With that said, is there any, is a council member compelled to make a motion to approve this agreement?
To approve the agreement, so the 26, 27 year.
Second from Craig. All those in favor signify with aye. Opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? We'll look now down here at the odor issue. Thank you for Mark being here. Appreciate it. The last council made a motion and was proceeding on one option of the 3 options that Snyder graciously prepared for us. Unfortunately, Mark Snyder is not here. We do have Rich Volker is here for us tonight. So ultimately, I know AJ participated in the discussion, I think, with Snyder and Mark and Jerry. Do you want to just give AJ, why don't you just kind of what you understood from it and what the recommendation is going forward, and then if Mark wants to jump in, you can, or Mark, however.
Go ahead.
No, you can, yeah.
Well. So. I wasn't at the meeting that you guys had decided the initial way,
Yeah,
but. Talking after that, we kind of talking amongst ourselves and with Jerry and Taylor and who else, but. Like, you know what, that's not 100% guarantee. Rectifying the problem, so let's maybe look at option 2 or B. Or whatever it was, which is. A little bit more pipe work, it's pretty much, it is 100% guarantee to rectify the problem. So, or I don't have anything in front of me. We were looking, I think, at around what, 30 to 40,000 initially. This is more around what? 100?
130. You want that, Mark?
Fine. It just seems like, what, let's just. Nip it in the bud and be done.
and I think the wording is, basically, I think the the belief for this was, we know that our lagoon system worked when it came to odor. This puts us back into an option where we can utilize that to
Yep.
have a
We
greater
will have to
level of
run some
dilution.
calving, but we're gonna utilize the pond, the big pond, like it was in, 4 years ago or 5, whatever, before this. So. I think we all sitting there felt. This is gonna carry our problem. That's my understanding. I mean, that's where I'm at. I think AJ's there. I know Zach's there. So. I think Mark was a little surprised maybe that he decided to go that route, but. We've really screwed enough. We've screwed around long enough to, let's just be,
You're ready to be the town heroes, cause that's a big deal.
let's,
That'll be a big deal.
it's not even a hope anymore, like. This will, I mean, it's where we were in the beginning, so.
Are we using the new technology?
Yeah, we're still gonna be using the
Using
greenhouse. We're just gonna get rid of the settling pond.
This way.
And that's not even true. We're not gonna get rid of it. We're gonna. Utilize it in a different way.
This is the point. Essentially, they'll have.
So like a new pipeline.
Sorry, I'm just curious.
How they,
Wash out
right
your
now,
pipe,
we're
it's
gonna
in a long
direct
run,
to
it's
the number one, right?
Uh-huh.
Primary lagoon.
And then we're gonna
Look
cut
at
a weir,
that.
we'll cut a weir in there.
It's gonna.
Okay, it'll still
go through the.
Go through there.
So let's do it.
It's just you're gonna use a little solution first.
Okay,
Settling
that's
it.
what's calling the odor.
So.
Because the pumper is still gonna stay.
So
Still gotta get
we'll pump it into number one,
They can.
it'll gravity flow back into the settlement pond.
Yep.
40 years.
Yeah.
It never has.
And then be pumped from the settling pond into the wrap like it is now.
Right, and
Yeah,
then
everything that way.
But this way it
How do
should
we know that
mitigate any smell
the
issues.
settling pond won't
So,
turn stagnant
because they're
like it does now?
basically going.
You're gonna have water going through it.
And then they'll pipe.
Yeah, water going through it now, it's just got extra stuff.
But you're setting out everything in the big
So
pond
that's
where you're not,
infrastructure.
you're a lot more water.
And basically. it's-
Yeah.
You're gonna have
more water than.
So dilution be the key, air dilution.
Right.
My follow-up question to that is, do you feel 100% this is going to work, period, end of
I don't know if
story?
I would.
My only
I really
concern
don't.
was the settling pond and basically the square footage of it.
That's what I'm worried about.
And it was discussed in that meeting with the potential of
Shortening it.
basically downsizing that size of the settling pond to essentially make your detention time less over the settling pond.
That's my concern, is if it stays in that pond too long,
I
We
mean,
just
technically, the
recreate
bulk
same-
of your organics and everything that's causing the smell should be going into your primary. Your primary lagoon, your cell one, whatever you wanna call it. So theoretically, that's all aerated with much bigger blowers, so that should mitigate any smell issue.
okay,
But the reason they wanted to keep the settling pond was for temperature issues and stuff like that throughout. the winter.
well, that's my second concern, but. So.
You
have
would
absolute
valve it
faith.
to use it just like it is now, where it's not smelling in the winter. Then you have
Okay.
some capacity in the winter.
I think the thing is, we'll never, ever have 100%. I don't think anyone will sign 100% certainty on no odor.
Yeah, cause that's my concern is
And like AJ said,
there's some.
if you wanted to shorten that up, that's something that you could just go in and fill.
Yeah, it
Fairly easy.
sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
You know, if we wanted to shrink that. so-
That's gonna change their amount of dredging. They'll have to dredge it more frequently because of the sedimentation that would be
Which is
coming
gonna
into
be through
that.
the winter. It'll be a
But,
long time that
I
you
mean,
should get
you're-
that.
In theory, this should work.
That's my concern is in theory, it shouldn't have done this to begin with. Are
Well,
we getting a second opinion?
I don't
Well,
know.
I think there's been lots of people talked to along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Consistently, the message was oxygen or greater dilution, right?
Yeah.
I think even in kind of your research, it was oxygen or more
Yeah, we
dilution.
had the guy from Iowa State came down,
Right.
so I'm just looking at where we dropped 130 grand.
The
Do we need
oxygen
to have a second?
in theory should work also, but you're aerating what you're supposed to be settling. Ergo, you're putting it into a pump. Pumps aren't really designed to pass grit and everything else that's bad for a pump. And then you're sending it into a rab where it's no longer aerated. Now that's all just gonna settle into rab and that's gonna stink. So in theory, this way should mitigate any of those issues by letting it settle in your primary lagoon where it's got better aeration, more dilution. So on paper, and even in my mind, it seems it's like a no-brainer.
It seems like a winner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keeping the variable control on temperature in the winter so that we get the treatment results that we think, we
There
know
could be,
works.
there definitely could be some smells in seasonal change, for sure.
When the ice went up, yeah, I understand that.
For the most part.
Yeah, I can
It
live in
seems
2 days,
pretty-
not 6 months.
pretty bulletproof.
Agree.
I guess I would like a second opinion before we drop 130 grand on this. We
Where
never
would you
anticipated.
expect them to get a second opinion? I mean, they've already looked at it through 4 or 5 different individuals that have given them, and the engineer, these guys. Where would you go for another opinion?
This is a little disrespectful, but the engineers that spec this are the ones that least contribute to the problem to begin with.
Where would you go?
Iowa State. I worked with Mark on a guy from Iowa State that came down and worked with, so just having a second opinion, I guess, would make me feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is I think, just clarity, a previous council elected to remove a function of this system as designed. There was advisement at that time that when you change the way it's designed, we can't guarantee what we can guarantee what the treatment will work, but we can't guarantee to you that it's all gonna be what it is. That was a $900,000 savings at the time, I think, and that was the grit and that removal, which would have guaranteed no odor. So I just, on the comment of like, they designed it and they should have known that it odor, I do think there was clarification, like, if you take the grit removal out, do it at your own risk.
Everybody.
Joel, you were here then, did they tell us it was gonna smell if we took the grit filter out?
I don't think anybody knew.
Nobody knew, it's so new.
This is
Technology and everything.
And I've talked to the guy from Iowa State. I've talked to probably 6, 7, 8.
No, already yet, okay,
No, in the past I have.
right.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna tell you, yes, this is gonna work. They're all gonna say, well, yeah, you could do that. You can try that.
Related to odor,
Nobody's gonna say.
related to odor
Yeah,
mostly.
nobody's gonna say, yep, that's what you need to do.
No.
We've asked how many CFM we need. Oh, let's start about here. Nobody's gonna put themselves out there.
I think you've had 2 engineers between Snyder and another. They gave recommendation to you at least, right?
Yeah, I talked to JEO, but they weren't gonna step on any toes. And I wasn't gonna commit any funds. Cause they're gonna go do all their own.
It was a fact finding discussion, right?
Starting over.
Yeah. I mean, we can go talk to the guy from Iowa State and get his 2 cents.
Does this not align though with what the Iowa State guy recommended you basically do, is add air and add dilution?
No, he was saying we needed the air in the lagoon, and then for a while it actually worked, and then we went with permanent.
Then
I don't know why.
Not the lagoon, the settling pond.
Selling, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just concerned that,
And we tried that, Mark?
we did. Yeah, I mean, we have air in there now. You need a lot more CFM in there.
And there was an original proposal for some of that and then some chemical treatment.
Yeah,
That was
and that's an
that was
ongoing,
from one.
Yep.
yeah, it was some chemicals and more air. The chemicals are ongoing, forever. Additive, I guess.
Cost of your visits.
Yeah, I mean, it was like $12,000 a year on chemicals
Yep.
that you're gonna spend every year from the station.
So I hear Craig would like a second opinion. Does council, is that unanimous or does council feel the same or?
Well, there's 2 things going there, because one is, I'm still nervous that the settling pond. Is it gonna have less solids coming into it? Yes, but we're still gonna have settling pond. The settling pond ain't going away. My second one is, and now we're going to get into an area I understand. If we dilute all the solids going into the RAB, is the RAB gonna work as effectively? And I'm concerned about that, because
They're not
plants, I
concerned.
understand.
They're not concerned.
GWT said our water quality coming out will be right where it's at now.
From my
Not worried
understanding,
about
their
the
only
year.
concern was the temperature. That's why they've.
That's
had-
their big factor.
Yeah,
That's
and then
why
really
they've
talk about
added-
temperature.
That's why they've added the option for the valve man.
Yeah.
To mitigate any of those temperatures.
Actually, they're not worried about the pollution of the concentration of solids in going into the RAB has to be lower. It's going into the
Technically, yeah.
lagoon first.
And I'm kind of in the gray on this, but Gross Wind, from my understanding, has only ever installed them as a scrubbing device at the end of every plant to
Okay,
remove nitrates and phosphorus. That was their main design.
Yep.
And so in theory, it's doing it the way that they initially designed it. It's just, this is the only.
Yeah, they've put their plants in different,
Yeah,
they've been in, they're in the industrial before it goes to municipal
right.
waste also. But, I mean, we're not the only one now that has
Yeah,
their full treatment, but yeah, so we don't produce as much algae.
yeah, I don't care about the algae.
Yeah,
as long as water.
exactly, and that's what we don't
And that's
care,
my-
and our numbers are great as far as meeting.
Right.
Our numbers, so. Diluting that and pulling something through, you're still gonna be taking the nutrients out, and, you know.
Okay, I just know that with a less nutrient dense, to use the politically correct word, with less nutrient dense, we're gonna grow less algae. So we're going to remove less of the things we're trying to get rid of. And I'm just worried that we'll pull one lever and we equal an opposite reaction and suddenly get back to the nitrate.
But I think you could play with the valves and, you know, bring some in, not bring as much in, or think there's room there.
Okay.
To work with that water.
So the new valving will allow you to go directly into the RAB and directly into number
No.
one.
We could go into the settling pond or one,
Okay, not directly. I know one time you talked about.
not
It'll
directly
get directly
into
to
the
the
RAB
RAB.
itself, no.
Okay,
You'll always go, it'll always have to get into that settling pond to be pumped in.
okay.
That's where the pump.
You can't pump raw solids into the treatment system's not designed for raw solids to be pumped into it.
That was my only portion of concern, was the settling pond is still the same amount of size. And it's not as aerated as your primary basin.
Right.
So in theory, there's still a chance for that to go septic.
That's all
So
we're
that was my recommendation of, well, why don't we try this and then call it stage 2, you shorten that size.
You
of
can
that
either
settling
coordinate
pond.
or you still have the mean, our compressors are big enough, or pumps are big enough to add.
Yeah,
You can still aerate, you could still add the chemicals from option one if you chose to.
Yeah, I think.
Right,
the
in
best thing
theory.
is to get out of that settling pond myself.
that's kind of my theory too, but I don't want to say it's proven, it's just a theory.
Yeah, I don't want anybody, I don't want staff to be accountable to it. It'll 100% work because we obviously know how that goes. I think it's hard to say that from an odor
I'm with
perspective.
Mark, I don't think anybody's gonna say it's a for sure thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can definitely get a second opinion. I think Iowa State's good. There's a lot of resources through the Iowa DNR. They are always happy to come
Oh,
and
okay.
advise.
Yeah.
I'll start with Iowa State because that's where I know a little something.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people through the Iowa DNR that I've been in contact with,
Okay.
and they're always happy to discuss theories.
Alright.
Again, they're not gonna guarantee anything. So,
I would.
So the consensus of when Iowa State came, your interpretation of what they said to do was what?
Air.
There,
Okay. Sorry, John.
I would
Go ahead.
say get the process started for this scope.
Well, what do you want to do? You want second
Option
opinions or
two.
do you want to approve this?
As
As
a
a-
second opinion, there's like things you have to do to get going on it though, initially, right?
there's
Like
permitting.
permitting and stuff like that, you could start going on, then get the second opinion, we could approve everything next time.
Yeah, if you want. So give me a motion to approve proceeding on this path forward for spending approval in the March meeting upon a second opinion.
Sure, that's
Yeah.
great.
one last question for you two. Since you do this in your real life. If for some reason the settling pond goes bad again. Is there any reason we can't still do number one? Option,
Sounds like the option, the air, add more air now.
Yeah, well, like I said, our compressors are definitely big enough to add more. I
Okay.
mean, it's not like we have to go buy a new pump or anything like that, so it's just a adding.
so if this does not solve the odor problem, we can either add air or shrink the size of the settling pond.
Yeah, I would be leery of adding more air, but in theory, your settled solid should go to the primary.
There's still out one and they didn't make. Only
Yeah.
dissolve solid.
All depends on how they decide to valve it and what makes sense. I'm sure it'll be a learning curve for everybody.
So the other thing too, right, is like what you're saying is. Once it settles, once the waste, the solids start to hit settling pond one, they'll settle out in a greater aerated area. And a larger mass of water, so there'll be greater dilution, more air. What will happen with the settling pond is there'll still be solids in there that for a period of time will still break down. But ultimately, then your flow will be water, mostly water moving through your settling pond for your hottest months of the
I mean,
year.
after
And you'll
20
go through a
years,
period of time
when we
where,
did this last upgrade, you know, it was 20 years from when we put aeration in, and there really wasn't a lot. I mean, they were working just with aerated lagoon. So,
Yeah, one was fine by itself,
for
unfortunately.
sure.
and so I think that's
And
where
that's
the
what I
belief
think, if you
is.
could go into there, I think that's gonna help, and then, like you said, your settling pond's always gonna be there, or a portion of it. And
But it might just be more of a water flow, and if you wanted, in theory, you could dredge it
until
tomorrow
then,
and start
if you're
clean.
gonna Go directly into there, then you might get some leftover, you know, in the spring, I suppose.
But you could dredge it tomorrow and start with a clean settling pond
Yeah,
and drop in
maybe.
one, and then then you wouldn't have as much concern about your turnover
It
there.
seems to me that we don't know what's gonna ever work there for sure, and nobody, no matter how many people we ask, are gonna know that. Would you be willing to change your motion just to move forward with the recommendation from the experienced staff that we have? And just move forward with it, the recommendation that they have?
It's $102,000 increase from what's already been approved. Out of the sewer fund.
I think we can second guess this, third guess it, fourth guess it for the next.
There will likely also be
Yeah, I appreciate
additional
it, but
fees for
Seek out a
consulting.
couple opinions, and if something is a big red flag, I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's great.
Easy.
We trust you.
I mean,
Besides it.
Won't that include additional costs though?
I really don't.
no, I mean, I can get a hold of,
Yeah.
a couple, like.
We go round and round,
DNR
and let you
guys.
know.
I don't
They're gonna
wanna
come up there and-
keep shooting at them missing all the time.
Consulting.
Let's.
I wouldn't,
Get it done.
no, because if you get a consultant, then they're gonna do their whole.
Shoot.
Yes, that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, you're just looking for free opinions.
I'm looking for somebody to come out,
Heard that.
hey,
We did.
we're gonna do, well, this is what we're thinking, boom, boom.
Perfect.
Yeah, what about?
Starting from scratch.
Because it's a
we move forward with.
All right, so we've got a motion on the floor. Did you finish your motion, Joel?
Julie did, good.
Okay,
Julie
and
finished
can you
it.
reiterate that? Can you just reiterate that motion so that it's clear for the group?
No, you made the motion.
You wrote it. You wrote it.
Can you read the motion
Yeah,
as
we did.
presented?
I fully wrote down. To proceed with option 2
Yeah.
and to get other,
Mark will check into
Mark
it in
with-
the interim,
check with other,
but not a requirement to move forward.
Right.
Just to move forward with it. and
Motion
we
to
will
approve it.
Continue to do due
With
diligence,
no cost
Due
due
option.
diligence. How's that?
Yes. Okay. We're calling that Joel's motion?
No, call it Julie.
Julie's motion,
I'll second it.
Joel will second it.
Well, that-
Is there any other discussion on it?
Once again. it's-
Okay, all those in favor signify with the sign aye.
I,
Hey,
Opposed? And abstentions.
we're gonna move.
Help me clarify. Can he?
yeah, you can.
Forward.
Abstain. Yeah,
Okay,
it passed still.
remember, there was one time when I was told you couldn't abstain unless you had a,
I'm just worried about.
Usually.
How did that go?
Conflict of interest. Usually abstain because you have a conflict of interest.
Well, he kind
All right.
of does.
He lives in such
He
proximity.
lives like, I
Yeah,
don't know how many feet away from him. but-
We are now moving, your green lit, we're now moving to the Snyder update that Rich has so graciously sat here for. This was approved by the previous council, is on the capital improvement plan. They approved the beginning work on this. So Rich, please, the floor is yours. Has everybody seen that in their packet, the R38 study?
Yeah.
Perfect. Rich, tell us what you found and what you think and.
Sure. So again, Rich Wilkers, Snyder Associates, transportation business unit leader. We did go through last fall and perform the Lynn Street corridor study. There were a bunch of improvements that were kind of contemplated because of the condition of the pavement. Obviously, one way you could go would be to keep everything the way it is, overlay the pavement. Spend a fairly substantial amount of money doing that. And then pretty much be back there in a number of years as that overlay out It doesn't necessarily fix the underlying problems of the roadway necessarily. So it's kind of a prudent time to look at the street in general, on the possibility of reconstructing it as a brand new street, new pavement, new structure, the whole new design life. As more of an urban section, obviously, Lynn Street's always been an issue of speed, traffic speed. And an urban street with curbs and storm sewer and possibly street trees or sidewalk, side path, will get motorists to or get them to feel how fast they're going and not feel safe going 45 miles an hour, where you don't want to do 45 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. So areas of concentration of where we were looking on Lynn Street for additional improvements was really focusing on the intersection of Main Street, and issues with school circulation and, but honestly, just congestion during school, drop off and pickup times. So as part of the project, we set out, cameras to, do traffic counts. We also flew drone up and down the corridor to kind of scan and get a up-to-date aerial image, and it's actually a full surface scan, so we basically got survey.
Hey, Rich, can you just define the corridor when you use that term, the corridor?
Sure, so the corridor was really concentrating on Lynn Street from Highway 210 up to the Heart of Iowa Nature Trail crossing. But beyond that, we were kind of looking also at city limits, up and down, more of a cursory aspect. And then, so as we were looking at the Main Street intersection, we also mobilized a drone to observe school circulation traffic to see what kind of issues we saw there. And so we were able to observe the queuing that happens from the stop sign, and the queue just gets longer and longer and longer until, you know, the traffic starts to dissipate. And we were also able to observe how drop off works internal to the school site, to where right now, the parents drop off, goes into the eastern parking lot. And then there's kind of a route that they follow that's then honed off to send them back out the way they came. But in general, the route takes them in, there's a kind of drop off location, but there's a lot of people who will come in and park and let the kid out. So there's just a lot of stuff going on in that parking lot, which isn't quite ideal. Other things that we looked at was improving the crossing of the Heart of Iowa Nature Trail, looking at that as kind of a safety and visibility issue. Looking at improvements to the trailhead and other improvements that were kind of brought up in that visioning plan that you guys had a while back. Also looked at lighting improvements and also trail connections to kind of up and down Lynn Street, and then the connection to the trail at the south side of town to create a full loop trail system for the city. Also looked at street trees and other aesthetics, and then utility court considerations. So in looking at the reconstruction of Lynn Street, mainly it'd be reconstructing as a 2-lane urban street, with the exception of the intersection of Main Street, where there's a couple options. One is to add lanes there, turn lanes, to facilitate turning traffic a little bit better, increase the capacity of that stop sign intersection. The other thing that we looked at was the potential of putting a roundabout in that location. The roundabout's a little challenging because of the proximity of the existing homes on the west side, so the entire roundabout has to be shifted to the east toward the school. Geometrically, it still kind of works because roundabouts work by affecting the geometry of the road entering the roundabout to slow you down. And then once you're in the roundabout, then it's a yield situation rather than a stop situation, such that traffic moves continuously in the roundabout, but just at a much slower speed. So rather than coming up to a stop sign with maybe no cross traffic on Main, and, you know, other times that you see substantial Lynn Street traffic, R38 traffic, that traffic movement would not actually stop at the intersection. They'd actually proceed through the roundabout, just so long as there wasn't somebody already in the roundabout. Looking at the school circulation, we had a recommendation in there for an additional driveway on the school property. Right now, there's a bus turnout where the buses all queue and load and unload students. And we looked at the possibility of adding a parent lane, to the south of that bus lane. For student drop off. This would eliminate the cars going through the parking lot, where there's staff parking and everything else. Parent drop off still could go to this staff parking if like the parents, were bringing the kid into the school and walking in with them. But if it's just drop off from the car, they'd be able to drop off in the lane. The crosswalk, would be fairly safe going in through the bus lane. Cause that's one where the, school staff could monitor that area. And it shortens the turnaround area for queuing of parental traffic. Beyond that, we looked at the Harbor Nature Trail crossing improvements. Generally, that crossing is up to date for signage. It is fairly visible, but it is one that could always be more. We looked at potentially some aesthetic treatments. We included some precedent images of other gateway features that are done in other places in the metro, that kind of both set off the location of the crossing and kind of add some more of that side friction for speed control going in. As far as the trailhead parking, we looked at paving that area and doing 2 bays of 90-degree parking rather than angle parking. Out of that, we could actually get a total parking stall count of 90 stalls, which would be a lot. Some of that parking lot does get used by school staff that then enter the building through the northern door. So that adds to a lot of capacity for the trailhead and the contemplated increased use that we're seeing on the Heart of Iowa Nature Trail since it's been paved for a good 10+ miles. Also looking at the Lynn Street Trail improvements, looking at a trail entirely from the south city limits all the way along Lynn Street on the east side to connect to the Heart of Iowa Nature Trail, basically putting in a wide sidewalk on the entire length. And then continuing that to the park on the south side of town to complete the loop trail. So we provided cost opinions for all these improvements. The interesting thing about these improvements is there's different funding streams for each particular improvement. There's quite a number of them for trail and trailhead improvements. Throughout the year, there's a lot of demand for trail funding in the state, but there's also a lot of funding available now through the state for that type of improvement. The roadway work itself, I think, you kind of hit it earlier where you're talking about Andrew Collins and your planning association. That's the place to reach out to. You might have to be in tow with the county engineer on that, just because the population of Slater is such that you guys don't necessarily get an allocation of federal money yourselves. But with the county as kind of the sponsor, you get into those conversations of potentially getting in line for some federal funding through SERPA, which is Central Iowa Regional Transportation Planning Alliance. I guess, let's see what else we got here. We also go through some implementation in terms of looking at the funding. We've got some action items listed to work with Iowa DOT District 1 to understand future plans for Highway 210. We did reach out to them and there's nothing planned in the interim here. We looked at the Highway 210 Lynn Street intersection and it pretty much operates as a 4-way stop should. So it's kind of one where we're kind of recommended to let the DOT take the lead with that intersection. But then when it comes to future improvements on 210, that's a good time to look at that intersection to see if there's any other geometry improvements to do. Also work with Story County Secondary Roads to understand the SERPA process to go after transportation funding. And then also look at your other potential partners on the project with the Valley Community School District, Story County Conservation, and then even down to like the local energy utility when it comes to lighting improvements. I know you talked previously about Alliant Energy and some lighting work that you have done. With that, we've got, a series of action items going forward. And kind of it's really a funding based priority at this moment. But it is one that there's some decisions to kind of make is in terms of, the two types of intersections that we talked about at Main Street. Whether you prefer staying on the stop control intersection with additional lanes or look at a roundabout and then do the fundraising that it takes for either project. So I guess went through all that pretty quick, but it takes some questions.
Are there any unique challenges if there was a roundabout at the end of Main Street for kids that are crossing to go to school and that kind of thing?
Yeah, on the one side, it's very different. So it is, roundabouts are generally considered very safe for pedestrians just because the crossings are shorter. There's median island refuge. The traffic is only coming from one way at a time, goes from both directions. So, generally that crosswalk, especially if they put a crossing guard there, that could be a very safe crossing for the school traffic that rides on foot.
Well, help speak to then the land process associated with securing and having land to be able to put a roundabout there.
Right, so there's a couple parcels, one of them, the big one's a school. And the school kind of benefits from the intersection improvement as well. But there's also another parcel to the south of the school property that would be, would require an acquisition. So it'd be, getting an appraisal, looking at the right of way needs, defining, getting a plat of survey and acquisition plat together, getting an appraisal on the value of the property and then negotiating the right of way with the property owner.
Generally speaking, a roundabout's cheaper in that aspect than a turning lane, correct?
No, actually the turning lane as we've got it, I think, you'll see it.
It's $500,000 cheaper.
But I'm saying for land acquisition and everything of that nature, isn't the roundabout?
I think Huxley has found it to be,
Really?
Yeah.
I think Huxley has found it to be cheaper in a couple instances.
Turning lanes, I think is all within.
Existing right away.
Oh,
Yeah, if you look at that.
The turning lanes is kind of a shoehorn project.
yeah.
Right, shoehorns the new road into the existing right of way that you
Okay.
have. There might be some temporary easement needed outside the right of way to build that. Whereas the roundabout is a lot of girth because it's a geometric solution for an intersection control to where. You're not looking at a future signal someday or anything like that. It's replaced as a permanent roundabout and that's the traffic control going for many years in the future.
And it would be designed to accommodate all sizes and weights of vehicles and trucks.
Can we talk
Not
for,
just a single lane.
Single
It is a
lane
single lane.
roundabout. Yeah.
It'll handle the trucks,
Yeah,
the double wagons that we have coming in
if you can see
behind
that
the
image,
tractor.
there's an inner circle. You see that's kind of a darker gray.
Yeah, and it's just low, right?
That's called the truck apron.
Yeah.
So that's usually that's on a very slight curve and it's a little higher than.
Like all the
regular
ones
pavement.
going in Dane.
Yep, and so the rear wheels of the truck travel. That's what allows the truck to get through there.
With the competing demands of human safety and auto safety and then getting Iowa State games through here. In your opinion, because I don't have a good one, a turn lane versus a traffic circle, what addresses those three things best?
The turn lane doesn't help. Quite honestly, the turn lane helps with school turning traffic. If we were to widen to additional 2 lanes through, then that might help put traffic through the stop sign. But that's the nice thing of the roundabout is it's just a slow down, go around the roundabout. If there's a dominant flow of traffic, it goes pretty good. And, even if there's a competing car coming from another direction, that's against that flow of traffic, they can still find their way in, because once you get in the roundabout, everybody's supposed to yield to you. And so that means that car gets through the person, whoever the next car is on Lynn Street yields to somebody who's in the roundabout crossing their path. But otherwise if it's unimpeded, there's no other conflicting cars, then it's just the geometry of driving through it.
I didn't know with the crossing guard thing, how that worked in the traffic circle with the school being right there.
But yeah, that'd be during just school pickup and drop off times, so it's less likely to have a strong surge of north-south traffic, other than the traffic that's going to the school at that
at that moment. Your drone tour, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
This is a historical property. right?
So, yeah, the student traffic, but controlled by a crossing guard where the students queue and then wait.
It's a
to
historical
cross together.
property.
That'll help.
This is historical property, so you're never gonna get that corner. And I'll just tell you,
It's there.
is there like
Right.
special signage?
I don't know that we're gonna get that.
Would the DOT require special
Not right now.
signage to warn motorists?
He does have 130,000
Yes,
as
there's a
right
whole
away
plan
purchase
to
for that
roundabouts
easement, but
Warn you of the presence of the roundabout for starters, and then.
it looks more dangerous
there's
for
a rising
crossing to me.
speeds on
Kid
the
crossing.
citizens, designed for
I don't
25
like
miles an hour,
that.
15 miles an hour.
Well, good range.
And then yield signs right at the intersection. So that you know, to yield the traffic within the roundabout.
Just some clarification on the Lynn Street reconstruction with roundabout or with turning lanes, both options. You do have the permanent right-of-way purchase at 130 for the roundabout. When we talk about this, I know I see in here storm sewer pipe, storm sewer intake. That would be assuming storm sewer. Is that storm sewer running from the Heart of Iowa Trail all the way to 210?
Beyond, all the way past 210 to open outlet to the south of 210. So it's
Okay.
quite a round of longitudinal storm sewer down the street, because there really isn't a good place to outlet water.
So, just a question, if, I know the recommendation here would be to do, I think you called it a, more modern or, something street, curb and gutter. The current isn't set up that way. Is there stormwater concerns, significant concerns to, if it wasn't to be curbed and guttered? And significant adjustments to pricing and design as it is today?
Yes, it would be less expensive to design it in a rural section. What doesn't quite get addressed necessarily is all areas of, one thing that we saw in the visioning study is it talked about some ponding areas around and up and down the corridor, and the storm sewer system would definitely take care of that, because it then is piping it underground to a new outlet. The rural grading, the ditches are pretty shallow all the way along Lynn Street, so there's not a lot of water conveyance on the surface. So it's just
Sure.
slightly less desirable surface drainage situation if we would keep it rural.
So 2.9 million for turning lanes, just in theory on that one option. Is concrete from Heart of Iowa all the way to 210 and storm sewer beyond, along that whole corridor. Does that include then, it does include sidewalk and sidewalk replacement. It looks like PCC sidewalk removal, 1,600. And then, so does that include the 5-foot sidewalk? Because the 10 is another, that 400,000 loop trail Severs trail to Highway 210. I assume that is from Heart of Iowa.
Right, I think
It's a different one.
we've got that in there, sidewalk only, 5-foot sidewalk only.
For both sides at that, kind of, okay. So 2.9 million is the completion of that whole basically that whole corridor from 210 to. I admittedly, when I saw this, was kind of surprised. I was expecting a much larger number than 5.1 million. And then that's with a roundabout. If you net the roundabout, you're 4.6 million for that whole corridor. Curb and gutter, storm sewer, trail. That includes the trail, I believe, all the way to wherever, and the trailhead improvements.
Yeah, that was all improvements included.
I was kind of, I guess I was anticipating a much larger number for what I envisioned the work.
The only thing that's not there would be upgrade water, stuff like that, that's under the roadway right now.
Yep,
This doesn't touch that rough spot down by the south of the stop sign a little bit. Or we have some low spot.
Going south would be their storm, correct?
yeah,
Right.
okay.
Low spot down over.
What other questions do you have for Rich about the work that's been done?
The bike path, there's no way besides the $10 million thing of anchor to get bikes across 210 without crossing 210.
Without building a bridge.
Yeah, that $10 million thing.
Grade separation. Well, I think because you've got a 4-way stop at the 210 intersection, It's a crossing like a crosswalk. It's not a.
Or as a, you can, and then up here on where bike trail.
Oh, crossing Lynn Street.
Across the way.
Right. Yeah, kind of the same situation, as the ad grade, you'd be chasing grade. Up and down the trail for quite a distance to create a grade separation there.
Right.
Not saying it isn't possible, it's just I don't know that it's warranted, especially the speed control that you have. Setup is good.
It's the same layout.
There was something logical, David,
Mhm.
you're an engineer, so this is just, I was making sure we weren't missing some opportunity there.
A really sweet ramp.
Okay, is there any other specific questions that that you would like to have Rich answer while he's here? We'll obviously talk about this, but specific questions to his design work or anything there related to it, questions? Okay,
I have a question.
yeah,
Was there any consideration on continuing East First past where the school's at and maybe taking a different route, bringing additional input and outputs, egress to the school?
No,
How would that improve?
no, we didn't really look at that, adding an additional roadway.
And as one of my concerns has been, since the shooting over in Perry, we understand the law enforcement responses to a school shooting. And for fire EMS to try to do any type of planning, we know we're not gonna be able to get anywhere near that because it's gonna be full of squad cars. So how am I gonna get ambulances and response vehicles and whatnot in there and equipment in there to take care of people if we have a school on a dead end?
Mhm.
So I think that needs to be considered in the capital improvement plan and comprehensive plan, how we'll go forward and thinking of those things,
fair point.
having a school on a dead end.
Hopefully it's not there forever, but yeah.
Just thinking about. Thinking about the future of Slater. Putting all that, I mean, I love the idea of, some kind of designation that you've arrived, wherever that be. Putting it in that particular location, is there any reason, would it help us to slow the traffic down with something a half mile north of that? The corner going to Huxley off of R38 is just a terrible corner. Cause it goes to gravel on one side and there's a lot of north and south traffic, and we're just asking for somebody to really there's been several accidents there. Would a roundabout at that area help everything south?
It would, I think you're on the right track when you start to talk about it, that you've arrived in town. One of the things that we have in the report is talking about, and maybe not enough. Is talking about the addition of street trees and other things that make you feel that you've gone from the rural and now you're into town. And that alone will cause people to drop their speed because you won't feel safe anymore driving fast because you'll have trees within the right of way that are causing you to feel your speed. So, just by that way, you'll slow down some. I think if you put a roundabout off to the north, it sort of has that effect, but in essence, once they leave the roundabout, they're gonna speed up. And be at speed by the time they get to the heart of Iowa Trail anyway. So it's best to do something in a passive way that helps control speeds and make people drive the way you want to drive in that location.
So in the future, we would potentially look at 2 roundabouts.
Maybe, ideally, you'd want the other roundabout to not necessarily just be a speed control device. You want it to work as a good intersection. Main Street, you've got that situation to where you've got a lot of turning traffic at school times.
Okay.
Whereas a street that maybe doesn't carry the side traffic that R38 does, that dominant route through the roundabout just become the one where, they slow down at the intersection, but back up to speed they go if they feel safe in doing so.
Thank you.
One concern, I guess, that you make me think of, Rich, is, there probably wasn't any collection of figures related to school traffic entering from the north to the school versus the south to the school, because as a person who takes a kid to school there, it predominantly feels like the majority of parents dropping children off come from the north, entering north to south into Slater. If you put a roundabout there, in order for them to be able to access the school property, they're now going to, in a constant flow of traffic, eliminate any flow from southbound traffic or Main Street traffic. As they come in from the north moving south and take up 3/4 of the roundabout to get to the school. At the density that they come in, you're effectively at a stop for a longer period of time. Waiting on a northbound R38 or eastbound Main Street.
Mhm. I think in terms of the traffic coming southbound, going 3/4 around the roundabout. Just that little bit of geometry and the entry into the roundabout should create gaps for northbound traffic to enter the roundabout. There's a little bit of a concern on the west leg coming off Main Street of entering the roundabout if there is a strong dominant traffic that isn't, you know, is using tyranny, I guess, to dominate the flow of the roundabout.
Yeah.
That is kind of an issue. Probably one of the only issues that there are with roundabouts is if the traffic is not equal between the two roadways.
Do you fix that by making it a 2-lane roundabout? Possibly?
No, generally the 2-lane roundabouts have quite a bit of capacity to them, but it'd be quite a bit bigger. And then beyond that, also the movements are not quite as intuitive, I guess I would say, because if you're in the right lane, you're not going.
Or thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that is a possibility, but the other thing is if it truly became a strong issue, you could consider the need for a bypass lane of the roundabout to allow free rights for traffic to get out.
Awesome. All right. I think there'll be time to discuss maybe some priority on this at a later item on our agenda. If there's no other questions, I want to keep us moving.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rich. Jumping into number O here, really. Okay, we're gonna go through some formality stuff. We've already kind of given council or staff the direction on what to put there, what we wanted to see. They've done that. We're looking now for a motion to publish the green light for them to publish that so that it can meet the timelines and deadlines for these, countywide mailer you get now with your city, county, school.
Yeah, it's primarily to send it to the county auditor's office, so they can send all the residents.
Sorry, it's to the county so that it gets published. We're just looking for a motion to move that, and that's that levy rate that we discussed last time.
Because you'll be
As
officially
requested.
taking action on it at the March 23 meeting.
And to clarify, we're not levying the highest rates that we could in all the categories. We've agreed to forgo some of the levies. And use some of the reserve in that employee benefits, I think is what we decided.
I so move.
I'll second.
Just a concern on my part, and I wasn't here last month. I am concerned based on the lost vote we had. We're not reducing based on lost. And it was a pretty resounding. I personally think it was a mistake that we did that, because it will starve the city for cash flow. But nonetheless, our lost vote said versus use it for property tax relief.
You've seen the attorney's opinion that said we don't have to do it directly from the levy rate. I think you disagreed with that.
Yep.
But we had that.
They wouldn't really put their.
I talked to Heidi about it as well. I think there's an opinion that you don't have to deviate the levy rate exactly, but if you use those local sales tax dollars in lieu of seeking additional property tax dollars for projects, you are utilizing those funds in a property tax relief manner. Which is what the city's done for no different than what we've been doing for the last decades.
I'm not sure I agree with that assessment.
So what is it that you're asking that we do? We change something or
Yes, that we actually use it for property tax relief.
Oh,
in
Which would
what
change-
way?
Which would change this sheet that.
Yes, it would change the sheet you're looking at right now. Once we approve that sheet, then the decision is made. That's why I'm bringing it up one last time.
By taking away $290,000.
But that would take $290,000 out of our annual budget for any other initiative.
And you were penalized, what, 3%? We were penalized with our increase, our growth.
We were capped to that. We
Yeah.
were penalized 6.
Yeah, we were penalized 3% due to our growth.
6,
or
Like I said,
6.
9 to
We
3.
grew 9%. but-
Yeah, we grew 9%.
I was voting for the no vote, but it wasn't, and so that's my concern.
At the last city council meeting, this increase, 16 cents, I think it was per
Mhm.
thousand, was approved by the city council. And the vote, I don't know if you have a record of that.
Yeah, we
So-
did.
Well, I specifically asked if we were talking about setting the date or finalizing the document. And I figured that's big.
Yeah, they were taking action on the actual
Yeah,
city levy rate. And that's $12.79 per thousand. That was an.
it's very easy. Here's the deal. If you guys would like to do that, we can adjust that. As we approach a project like this, we'll look at increasing property taxes to fund a project like this, or, additional capital improvement projects. I believe the attorney's opinion stated that it's completely legal and very common that cities utilize the local sales tax funds to fund projects in lieu of seeking property tax dollars for those. And that the usage we have been using local sales tax for, and as laid out here, is completely legal based on the attorney's opinion. I've also asked Heidi the question, and she agreed as well that it would be appropriate.
I read both the opinions. Obviously, I didn't talk to Heidi, but I read both opinions, and one leaned one direction, one leaned the other. But they were very unwilling, in my opinion, of having read a lot of contracts, dealt with a lot of lawyers. They were not willing to put their neck on the line, just like water and sewer. They're not willing to say, yep, guaranteed fix.
We're first, second.
Yeah, you're first.
We do have a
second.
first and second.
I'll vote.
Yep. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Moving to the next one, this is to P, we need to, sorry, we got the
It's just operating.
levy, now we need to go ahead and do P, discussion consideration of Slater proposed operating budget. Everybody's got printouts of that budget there. Is there any questions related to that? This is a budget that's stripped of capital outlay or capital requests. So this truly is kind of what we're taking in, what we're spending on operations, with a little bit of surplus in the end.
I have one question
Yeah,
on the township dollars. Don't want to take any money from the MS, I'm gonna get off, but the state in our 2080 that's supposed to be used 100% funds for fire.
Which one?
The one that I read from Polk County,
Y-
it says fire only right on it.
Yes, I did give that all to you.
Okay,
This is the 30% Palestine, is that right, Mark? Palestine,
okay. Okay,
yes.
I just wanted to make sure that that was.
Mark and I did sit down and discuss that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to see any dollars from anybody, but just wanted to make sure that that was out with the doctor.
Mhm.
other questions relating to the budget? In the documents in front of you that the staff has prepared? Craig, you got questions?
No, went through compared to last year, and as those who talked about the this is corrected some of our past.
might not be that, there was Showball, right?
Yeah, and we could give a quick update on that. The Sheldon O&M calculation came back in a 12% range,
Yeah, I love it.
11.68. 11.68% when we compared the actual flows against each other.
Yep,
And we're working on with them, they have historically paid based on the prior year percentage or the prior year expenses.
we have 30,000 for Sheldon. In here,
In there.
Actual.
we have 30,000 in here.
And so Lindsay and Jerry and Mark have provided, are working to provide them what their percentage is and also then provide the past 3 year, the budgeted, proposed budget for O&M, the current year we're in, and then the past year,
Correct.
25.
Actual.
for their council to look at on that.
A quick question on that one. Jen had moved, it centralized benefits. And said she would manually move them back for the lagoon, sorry, the sewer. for the Shell charges. Did you get that all balanced out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Cause it was, when she said she wanted to do it, I told her this is gonna be complicated for the Shell bill, easier for other things. Okay,
Yep.
good.
So they're just under 12% on that. I think we're amendable to them paying. I think the contract that it's like, hey, do they pay on the budgeted or do they pay on the last completed? And then they're always retrospectively behind. I don't know that it really makes a huge difference dollar wise to us from an operation standpoint. We did also just in the cycle of budget have opened the conversation to if you would want to consider us billing you based on usage and discuss that, we could come to the table and begin a discussion on what a contract would look like for us to bill you as a customer. They were open to that. They felt like that would be a discussion at some point in the future that was worthwhile.
And just for the new council members, last year that percentage was 11.76. I don't remember what the operating expense was. Assume it's probably up.
Joel, she has a document she could share
Yeah.
that she's trying to put together. I don't know if you got it completed.
Yeah.
But
No,
you can see it then, yeah.
Yeah.
It should be, the percentage was about the same in the.
I appreciate staff's work on the budget and all the departments. We did throw that curveball of kind of removing the capital outlay on an individual department basis from their budgeting process to more of this capital improvement process. Appreciate them being amendable to that and working to try to have good budgets that are you know, smart, but also not inflated too much. So thank you, everybody, on that. We could,
Well,
yeah,
since-
go ahead. Yep.
I did note on the sewer, it looked like a lot of the wages, I think, were on the sewer and the sewer plant. Which I meant to ask and then I forgot. It's in your detail level, and I was thinking that the sewer plant, there's more your labor than the sewer.
It is,
itself.
the sewer plant is higher.
Yeah, it's more.
Then I just missed
It's more.
All right. I had to find that to make sure that the right percent went to jump off. And just for the new council, that the only reason there's a weird council lit there is Shell only pays for the lagoon, the sewer. I think that's what we call it now. It's just the sewer is all the sewer lines in the city, which obviously Shell doesn't pay any percentage of that. So that's the reason the sewer got split into two pieces.
Exactly. Thanks for the context. You were hoping for a motion to approve this?
Just the revenue and expenses, yes. If everybody's good with them.
Moved.
This is a balanced budget.
Moved from Craig,
Second.
second from Russ. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The last item here on the agenda is our discussion consideration of Slater's proposed capital improvement plan. That's a document here. I want to just walk through some of the vision on this and where we've come from and where we're at and where we need to go moving forward. A big part of this process in my mind is community feedback and what they think is important. We are working towards our comprehensive planning, which will include at that point a broad look at public feedback, right? It's hard to make big capital improvement plans without a better understanding of what the community wants and needs and those things. Through the comprehensive planning process, it's my expectation that the entity hired will provide surveys and community feedback opportunities over that period of time to gather consensus and direction as to what some of the things the residents of Slater today believe need to be a part of our planning for the future. So I wanted to first say that. The second thing I wanted to say is Mark, Jerry, and Lindsay, I think have worked like tirelessly on this, repetitively on this, as they try to balance it. A very challenging part for this is to determine what we can or can't do without understanding the financial side of it. Well, there's a lot of components that go into the financial side of it, including obviously grant funding, potential levying for essential based needs, and then the capital funds available. So this to date, what you're looking at is what staff's expertise has prioritized and designated as what their needs are and what their wants are. Tonight, I think it's important that city council has an opportunity to provide feedback or insight into what maybe some of items city council would like to see on the list or prioritized on the list. It would be my goal at the end of this discussion that we could identify 3 to maybe 5 specific projects that we know and believe are priorities of the community so that staff could begin preparing and building information related to the funding for projects of that nature. Is that fair? That's Jerry Lindsay. That's what would be helpful at this point, is for us to help you get focused on a few to begin to start to build the funding process. This is staff's recommendation. There's probably a long list of these things that we would defer to staff and let staff, prioritize. There's others that I think the city council needs to speak up and participate in. So with that said, I would open the floor on that.
Just for clarity, the 644 on one sheet that has that title on it, the 644. That's basically what we did with the wheels on.
This one, that's for the top
Right.
capital projects
The top
we're
half, that's
recommending.
All these things were in the budget when we pulled it out, so
Yeah.
that we
Right,
got down.
but
These-
it's effectively, we need that
No,
to keep.
no, these are just kind of the way it filtered out. You don't have to have all these things on this list.
Mhm.
That's up to the council.
That's up to the council.
Okay. Other, these were things that we kind of needed to do.
I think there's some
Like fire, you got PPE, harness, those things are pretty.
There's some items on there that we need to do. I think there's items on that list, like, does this council believe that resurfacing the deck at the pool is the right move right now, where we sit today with what we know and what that is? Or does this council want to have a deeper discussion and investigation into what the future of Slater's pool looks like and where, what,
Put that page up on the.
how? that one?
I don't think I have that one. Well, let me look.
So
Um,
one of this list is the mandatories. We feel it's really.
What do you feel like is mandatory as you look at this list?
Well, I guess I'm looking at Mark and Lindsay and Jerry of, we have to do these things or otherwise we're gonna have horrible R&M bills.
115.
Okay.
So,
It's right here, Mark.
the,
I mean, the water and
It's slowly
sewer, that's really maintenance work. The
Oh,
city should be working on those things every year. We should be putting money in the budget to,
right, that's what I thought. Some of those
otherwise,
things,
jet.
if you don't pay it this year, you're gonna pay twice as much next year, is what I meant. They're-
It's so hard to read.
It's more maintenance.
Right.
It's
Bigger?
essential.
Total.
So
There's good.
There
the,
you
I don't know if you can speak for, well, AJ, you could, I guess. But the PPE, we have no choice. The harnesses, we got no choice, right? They tell us we have to throw them away every 10 years.
Technically, yes, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the
That's
turnout heater is something that we don't mess around with, that gets replaced.
Yeah, I think some of the key on some of that stuff is. I would look at it more so as there's items that you're flagged like, wow, this is a significant investment. I'm not sure I have the resource. I'm not sure I'm in a position to agree that that's an investment. That we make so many of those are some smaller, the PPE is, $20,000. Lighting on trails is $10,000. There's a road repair in there, which is 90. I think you look at then the water sewer, stormwater, you start looking at different funding sources and accounts, so we could maybe debate some of those, but the biggest one there that makes up over 30% of that, right, is the 220 for pool deck resurfacing. Does the council feel that that's the right move today and that's what they'd want to do? Was the biggest question on this list for me, and then
And on that topic, that's not a quoted, I mean, that's shooting from the hip.
Right.
That was talking to somebody.
Based on discussion.
That's not a written.
Yeah,
Was that the same guy that said that it would potentially last 20 years or so?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that? Is it
I
worth
don't know.
spending that?
Was there any guarantee on that?
Guarantee.
Like when they say
Like
20
in-
years, they just.
With some new information that I just received today, maybe you get 10 years out of it, I don't know.
I think I would lean on
I'm-
what your opinion is, if is it worth, I mean, do you think the longevity of the pool is 10 years?
I think it could be. I mean, here's where I'm at. We're supposedly on borrowed time now.
It's been 20 years, right?
Right.
Since it was constructed.
I don't know. I have my,
We just buy a boiler for it.
what?
Did we
Yes.
just put a brand new boiler in it?
Yes.
Mhm.
Which that can be taken anywhere.
Here's what I'd like to say, because we can sit around, I think, and talk about this forever. Does this council agree that we need to do some bigger deep research into what the future of a pool in Slater is, and if there's a future of a pool, et cetera, and segment that into a broader discussion about that specific item versus committing $250,000 towards it tonight with where we sit?
It's worth more discussion for sure. I think I'd like to see a future of a pool in Slater for whatever that means, but it's worth talking about for sure.
We can operate this year.
For sure.
I would ask this council to, like, we know we need to address this and we need to get some research done on this and we need to analyze what this is what's a new pool cost, what are alternatives, et cetera. But let's agree that that's more of a, we got to deal with it and get some better ideas over the next 12 months and hone in on some of the other ones that we probably can get closer, we could solve a little bit easier tonight.
If we agree to these, where's this money coming from?
Great question. At the end of your budget sheet, there was a summary sheet on that budget. That summary sheet shows you where we end. It should look something like this one with all the funds and
Yeah.
that.
Well,
At the end of the budget process this year, the city of Slater finishes with a difference of about $120,000. That is expected revenue.
Right.
Unallocated or committed today, which would historically fall right. We would invest that in capital improvements of some sort. So there's 120 available for that right now, huh?
But we have 644 here.
that includes the pool.
Yeah, so you take that out and we're still at 444,000, but we only have so much to play with.
Well, that was, I think the calculation at the bottom, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong. The initial number, 1.5 million, we said we wanted a 65% holdback.
Correct.
Of the general fund figure.
The general fund, which is up there. I think you're using the expense number, right?
Correct.
Top line under
Yep.
expense. That's the same almost 1.5, 65% we're holding back roughly.
Exactly.
Second line. That's the ending balance we have. Take out the $957,000 holdback. And you got 548. I wasn't sure why you subtracted the 200 grand in interest.
I think this number right here.
Because if we pay that
So this is.
High
If
Trestle
we-
Trail, you're not gonna have that much money in the account. So your interest will be less.
Okay. I didn't know if you were
Right.
factoring in, maybe interest rates are going down or.
No, they're not going down, but the more money you take out, the less interest you receive.
But
So,
interest rates may go down.
correct.
See who wins that argument.
So we lowered it. I mean,
Yeah.
57,
So taking the interest out,
It's
that
less
gets you down to 350, and then I assume that the number on the bottom line is 350
for technical.
plus the lost.
yes,
But we have-
that is correct. I showed my work for you.
What's that?
I showed my work for you.
Yeah, I had to connect the dots on that word.
Okay, so to bring this back, Julie, you're tracking, I know AJ's walking you through it. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're taking the unallocated capital from this budget cycle, you're looking at the reserve that this council set at 65%. Or the past council set that at 65%, I think, which if you notice the state legislature, there's a bill proposed that you can't carry over more than 10%. Your balance can't be greater than 10%. So don't be surprised if the legislature continues to look at and target cities like ours that have reserve funds of this size and start to encourage us to spend more of that fund or use it in lieu of taxing for it. That gets you to the 957. So that's what needs to stay in the general fund per council's right now reserve policy. So then you take the total balance minus that gives you that net. Lindsay's saying, hey, don't count on interest because you're going to deploy capital. You're going to spend less. You're going to have less in the investment account earning capital or earning interest. So just conservatively figure you have that. Add that to your additional 865, 742.
Yeah, where's that?
Local optional sales tax.
Oh,
That, just to clarify, that is what has been in rollover accounts in all the various departments.
okay,
So that is what is kind of where local sales tax is sat. That gives you your balance of 1214.
okay, thank you.
which is considered the capital bucket
That we have to use.
to use. But that's, just to clarify, there's no like, there is no, the bucket keeps going. That is the bucket for the foreseeable future, knowing that you're operating on a budget today that has, leftover after operations of 120,000. And inflation and, those type of things occurring, we are operating in the green, but we're not operating in the green in a very large percentage in relationship to our overall
We don't
expense.
have another pile of money just out of this other budget left over.
No,
Okay,
this is what you have. The only debate that we could have at some point is 65% way too much of a reserve? And does that number need to be less? But again, just remember that 65% number is 957,000 is what we're holding back for the worst case scenario,
Which we need for general operating.
which would help us make sure our general operating could occur.
we could continue to operate no matter.
That would get us through 7-8 months of the year if we had to with no income.
Right,
So why is water and sewer on this when those are revenue accounts?
On here,
Enterprise.
yeah, they're enterprise.
Why would they be in?
They're just listed, but they're not part of the calculation at the bottom.
No.
Oh,
They're. Well.
you're saying why are they listed on the capital improvement projects?
What's that?
Those funds, and that's the next clarification is your water, your sewer and your stormwater projects there, those would not be funded out of
1.2.
that 1.2 capital bucket. Those would be funded out of the accounts that we have for water, sewer and
They're
stormwater.
technically.
so the water, sewer and storm would be out of enterprise.
Enterprise.
Correct.
Correct. And just to clarify, there will be a loan payoff. And that loan payoff is around $600,000. So that balance you see there of 1.7 million
Will be found
will
one-
be 600,000 shy
Yeah.
Yeah,
after the loan payment is executed.
but I mean, in theory, for sewer, you're looking at.
And oh, just remember, we approved $102,000, $230,000 tonight. So you're $728,000 lighter than what you see on that number. Based on council's action to this point.
Okay.
The remainder of those funds could be, we will collect enough with our rate changes to sustain those accounts as operating. So that leftover is kind of capital projects related to water, sewer, stormwater.
Is the budget calculated on the new water and sewer rates or?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Mhm.
Does it still show a negative, but that's probably based on the interest.
Mm,
Isn't the sewer still a net negative?
Yeah, it is.
yes.
So that's why I wasn't sure if it was the new or the old rates.
Why would it be?
Wait, where's that negative? They're not negative.
Showing revenue of 851, but expense at 927,
Right,
that would be less.
that's why I was thinking maybe.
Weren't we have to do an increase in March and then another one in July, is that right?
Yeah, this would be the first one.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I read it too.
Yeah, we're doing an increase in March and then July, so it's gonna take us a little bit to get up there.
So this is more reflective of the old rates. And not having the loan paid off.
Yeah, 927 is what it shows the budget amount is.
9.7.
Revenues of 851.
It's like where there's 50 grand, so. Right. I should ask that during the budget session, sorry.
851.
I don't know why that one's different.
Rich, please don't feel obligated to stay. We'll keep you informed of it.
Okay.
What occurs.
If you have any questions.
Yeah, I'm a bit lost on that.
What was the question?
Well, the increase is annual and these are projected, the 4%. There was questions about these increases. This is for this year.
So we're up $50,000. You're talking about six,
And then the projection was to do 4%
and
the following 2 years.
we have two bond payments,
So
so
Yeah, but those would have been
Should be
600,000.
yes.
So that number should be considerably higher in expenses if that's.
We might have more revenue coming in, I just have to look, I'll have to double check.
So we feel like the budget, we're questioning the budget number related to water.
Sewer.
The revenue number.
Revenue is 851, expenses is 9.7.
Let me see what I brought in so far really quick. Let me grab it.
Okay,
I should ask that.
No, I'm gonna go grab it. I want to give it to you.
That would be 600,000. The duplicate bonds, I think almost 4 on one.
So we wouldn't be paid the interest on that either. So that should be revenue.
Right, yeah, you would, yeah, that would be less.
it would be not an expense, so
Yeah.
it would reduce expenses.
If I remember it, the payment with the interest and principal on that was around 56.
It's down there, one more hallway, one more door on your right.
One more.
And then
We
we
go-
have a rate increase that should cover that.
Now you're right.
I think the payment on the bond, it was like 48,000 or the interest like $50,000
Yeah.
I was thinking 56.
on the 600 one that we're paying off.
Right.
So those numbers need to be kind of fixed. Well, she fixes that number. I think as I look at this, I think council can object at any point. The water, sewer and stormwater. I don't see anything there that I look at and say, wow, you know, staff doesn't know what they're doing. We should probably really kind of tell them they can't do this. The wastewater treatment effluent building, Mark, that's just repairing where it's not really a building.
Yeah.
E.
I love that.
It's not really a building necessarily as much as it's a concrete structure.
Correct, and that's something that we need to do.
The DNR said we had to do that.
Correct. And
So that one's gotta be in there. We gotta give him the green light to do that.
same was always in purchase. We can use that one all the
In,
time.
in the revenue
Revenue.
for charges. for-
That was a new,
Not the flow meter, but the sampler.
okay.
Hold on one second.
We had
Yeah,
to,
still doesn't make sense, but
we got a new permit in December. And now we have to get composite samples. Where we.
So that number is less. That number in the, okay. The jetting and televising, that's up to 125,000 for regular.
Which is a lot more than I've ever, this is kind of where Jerry kind of said this is, he used to put his, we were never at that age, so this is kind of.
We should be spending.
New water or new territory for me,
Okay.
spending that much on.
So allotting that much for you to utilize from a capital perspective doesn't mean you'll work with the professional partner to determine.
Yeah, I get the biggest thing there is you're gonna get more done, obviously. Maybe.
Oh, without the bond.
Yeah.
This is why it's wrong.
Yep, the bond payments.
At least the
That's
section.
There's 551 in here in bond payments for expenses
On the sewer side.
on the sewer side.
Yeah, I was just talking the one that we would pay off.
That's already been taken.
That's in this calculation, that 927.
I don't have the grand total amount of how much we're paying.
Yeah.
Was that 800 and
600,
600,000? Yeah, I don't. have
just
that.
under 600.
I don't have that in here as an expense. Cause it will be paid off this year.
Right, so I can't figure out how we're still losing 76,000.
It's considerably less than that. If we took 551 out of that 927, that's the actual expense for sewer.
For expenses, I have the bond in there, all the bond payments.
Well, we have to have that to do the 110% rule, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but I have it showing up in the sewer expense line.
it's in this.
Yeah.
So that's driving that 927 out by 551,000.
Which it should, right?
Right. But it's also confusing because he said it was coming out of that $1.7 million number.
What would be?
Actually, it would be 9.7. This would be an accurate calculation with the bond payment, that
Mhm.
final number.
Right.
Yeah.
So 1.7 should still be in that reserve account,
Yeah,
even after making the bond payments. So it's actually not less 600,000 like you initially stated.
No, paying off the one loan will come out of the 1.7.
It's right here, that it's in the
It's got
expense.
600 grand.
It's 551 right there.
We're running the entire sewer for 400 grand,
I guess.
including the bond payment on the.
no, the bond payment,
Is a separate
Yeah.
line item.
Technically, yeah, it'd be around 400 and some thousand for expenses,
that does not include the bond payments.
Okay.
which is surprising to me as well. So revenues are considerably higher than expenses, the way that I understand it. I could be wrong.
So something doesn't seem to be adding up, but these numbers are fairly consistent with prior years, I just assume.
So your bonds are all sewer bonds.
Mhm.
So the sewers won't pay for all the sewer bonds.
Right.
So the money we have coming in is 851,000,
Mhm.
and your expenses are 927,000. But out of that 927, it's
Okay,
500.
so this is the bond payment, not actually the sale bond. Okay,
Correct. These are your
Following.
other two bond
I'm following.
payments.
Right.
okay.
Yes,
Right, so.
So we're
those are
still
supposed to-
running less 76,000 even
Right.
with the rate increases.
Right, so we're not making the 110% rule.
96, 78,
That I
95.
don't know.
You're almost 50,000. Actually, because I had the revenue wrong.
Okay.
It should be 845,000 on charges for fees and services.
845.
Yep.
That's 9.7, look at it.
So now we're 50,000.
Okay.
It should be
At the 100.
50,000 long.
Yeah. I was-
That's what I would
Work that
think.
one through, Lindsay, instead of dragging us out.
Yep, I'll look that through, Mark, and I can look over the sewer expenses.
Cause even after we
We
pay
have to
out,
amend the previous.
We'll have another approval in March.
Yeah,
Okay.
budget.
The final
The
approval,
budget will finally be, because there'll be a public hearing we've set for that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
correct.
That's.
Good catch, good questions.
I just made a bad assumption about that.
Fixed.
Okay. All right, good catch. That's why we do this. That's why you have this. And I think admittedly, there's been so much shuffling going on and moving accounts and moving things where they are. And this is our first budget cycle with the new team. So I would be surprised if we didn't run into some situations like this. The water, sewer and stormwater, does anybody have objection to what they're kind of talking about in 27 relating to what they're asking for?
Mainly maintenance.
The jetting and televising, is that in plan to figure out what needs repair? Or,
Well. Yeah, I mean, we haven't televised now for, I think it's 6 years. So. We've always kept on a jetting program.
right?
And then about every 5 years. Your section of town gets done.
Mhm.
So this would be, maybe we're with a different company, so I know it's gonna cost more than what we were at, but, yeah, it's gonna be televising and hopefully,
Just start take inventory.
get a good inventory and stuff.
We don't know.
We're starting to do 20% of the time every 5 years, right? So-
Yeah, that would still be my hope, but just cause I know prices are more than my old contract was.
No, this is one I'm willing to defer and say, yeah, the right things we need to do, and
Perfect.
that comes out of the enterprise funds, so it's not technically Mr. 1.2.
Yep.
On the Fourth
The-
Ave road use, I assume that's overlay.
That's a mill and overlay. And that is like the 600 block of Fourth is,
Water mains in decent shape there,
we haven't had any issues.
or, yeah, better knock hard on that.
Yeah. I've never had one.
So the really big question there for all of us is the pool.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of gonna maybe push that down the line. I think we should put that off. I think we need to do a lot more assessment about our pool. Get the community feedback.
Season.
You're
know what you're gonna
we're
need
not
for
gonna
minimum.
cause more degradation by kicking a can down there for another year. The dam's already been done. Okay. All right, I misunderstood. I was thinking this is something that if we don't get something done.
No,
Okay,
We're on borrowed time every day and every year you don't get something done is,
agreed, but
but we probably need to think bigger
we've
than,
spent some money, this fall. We got the lights, inspected and replugged. We think that was some of the leak.
Okay. Harking back, talking about.
There's some cracks, but I think it is what it is.
So push that one back till after comp plan. I'm good with $100 on the window.
Is there any way? Yeah.
Thank you.
Fixing the welcome to Slayer.
Probably right, so they replaced it anyway.
That was in previous discussion.
There will be a major project.
R 38 you're talking, yeah. Okay, so, yeah,
Yeah,
which is,
yeah,
so parks, lighting and trails, fire, everybody's good there.
yep. I have one question about something that was moved.
Okay,
Knowing that, we'd like to continue the Ballard School District to be in favor of keeping baseball here. Do we need to really deal with those dugouts, which are really junk?
Well, we just saved 220,000, so I think
I think so,
20,000
yeah.
sounds cheap.
here's the thing. Go ahead and build a dugout the way that we think we should build a dugout, and build a dugout that Ballard doesn't think is a good dugout. I think, I understand it's 20 grand, but I think with the way we've played this, we should really get a better understanding of. We could put 20 grand into dugouts. That doesn't mean that makes them more likely to stay or not stay. But if you could spend 50 grand and they'd love the dugouts and it increase the likelihood to stay, would you do that? In lieu of 20? We just haven't gotten that answer.
I just hate to see us put everything off and we got.
No, I agree.
Really bad at certain locations, that's all.
I totally agree. I think it's the type of thing that you do in a week's work and put a new roof on it essentially, right? Is really kind of the,
I mean, yeah, you can get by with a lot less and put a new roof on the visitors dugout and.
we know we're gonna have to deal with them at some point. I'm meeting with the booster club, so just give me some time to,
Okay,
just give me,
Julie, I'd like to do something out there, but I would like to Ballard to make a commitment to us so that we're not spending money and they build their own or whatever. So I'm supportive of your idea. I'd love to keep Ballard baseball here.
well,
But-
they're not gonna build a whole new thing in the next 2 years or the next 3 years, I mean.
2029.
So we just continue to let ours deteriorate and nothing happens.
Well, but I was talking just the dugout. I was talking, there's a lot of things they would like, but I think they need to commit so we get a return on our investment, instead of just throwing money at it.
we can pull this trigger anytime
Okay,
on this, and if we feel like there's a dead end, I'll be the first to say. Salvage, make it better. But I'd like to really assess that there's no pathway to a greater commitment before we spend 20.
okay.
How are we doing this? We're making suggestions and we're voting or just?
I'd really like
I
to,
wanna say I squashed Julie on this one. That's not my place.
Well-
You did, so it's okay.
But I'm saying, there's 5 of us, not 2 of us.
yeah, does anybody else wanna spend 20 grand and fix the dugouts right now, or are you okay waiting for some?
Oh wait, baseball season's
If
going.
possibly it was gonna help us get that commitment, then I'd say, yeah, let's do it, but I have no idea.
That won't be the thing, I can tell you from my experience with the athletic director,
Whether we get 'em.
superintendent, school board president.
That is unacceptable appearance for us to have inflated.
Agreed.
Final comment about it.
It's like our 3-foot patch job.
Yep, we brought it up because it was on there.
Yeah. I mean, I specifically asked to hold off on that because I have had a behind the scenes conversations that. Our version of fixing a dugout will not be appreciated and isn't a leverageable, supportable thing for us, so I'd like to work towards what that could be and report back.
Well, since we took 200,000 out, can we go ahead and get the computer and at least the street banners then?
Don't do the street banners.
Don't do those? Okay.
I have another idea for
I'm gonna ask a question of one. What are we doing about the EMS?
Yeah,
Ambulance? I think that's kind of higher on our list of things.
I think when I think about this, let's think about projects that are $500,000 or bigger real quick. So that we can give staff the direction to begin the research and look at that.
Huh.
We can amend the budget at any point to add capital needs as they come up
Perfect.
and bring in.
Let's move on.
But I think we should hit the 3 to 5 major projects that need to be addressed, and I think they've kind of put some stuff down here on the list. Does the council agree that the beginning phase on what is the EMS solution is a priority?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got EMS on that list.
And by EMS solution, we're talking potential ambulance and a place to put a truck and an ambulance.
I think so. Yep.
You gotta start with the building.
Yes, agree.
Yeah.
But
Oh, because, yeah.
I just wanna make sure what we're counting.
Yeah, I think,
Well, it's only illegal for us. So we don't comply, if we don't comply with the state.
I think we look at that and I think, what they can begin to do is look at what funding sources are available and how much potential grant and outside support's available so that we then can look at how much of our capital budget we'd want to give towards it to determine what they could spend.
Yep.
So that then they can design something or work towards a design of something that would make sense.
Ideally, I would like to know. I mean, and it's probably too early to do a finalization on where we want EMS to land, but that's one of the first steps, and then I need to get with the architect and engineer and start having some conversations. But that we're at, as far as I know with JEO, that's as far as we're gonna go on.
Yeah.
So the next step is we're gonna have to spend some money for architectural and engineering.
No, I think the first next step is to try to put together some ideas. I want to make sure Jerry's on the same page here. I think the first next step is to try to work towards what's a realistic budget and finance to spend on that. I think some of that starts with how much outside funding can we go get for an EMS project?
Say that again, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about it.
I think what we're doing today is we need to give the project prioritization to you so you can work towards us and say, we're really thinking that the outside funding can be somewhere around here. You know, and so that we can piece together, how do we get to the finish line on the project? Because the one thing I feel like is a learning lesson from the community center and library is it's really easy to go out and get an engineer going and get a building design and all those things. But if we sure as hell don't know how the back end funding is going to come together, I don't know how to do that. And if we tell you today what the back end funding looks like, I don't know that we can do that effectively. But I do think we need to quantify like how much outside support is there? Is there plentiful grant opportunities? Is there $500,000 in grants available? Or is there 200,000? Because if there's 200,000, then I'm guessing this council has to discuss how much.
So there are grant opportunities available. We can go to the USDA. And I understand that from certain standpoints, it can feel like you're running through hoops. The USDA does exist. There is a community loan and grant program. I've on my own initiative kind of spoke to USDA because I'm friends with them at the top. And they have told me that we don't qualify for the grant side, we qualify for the loan side of that program. And that we can pretty much, I mean, we just have to apply and go through the process and let them know where we're at with our kind of how the mechanism is gonna work. And then we can get an idea from them. So we're kind of caught right now in a circle. We have to do something to move in a direction where we can tell them how much we want to spend. But we gotta know how much we want to spend in order to be able to move, to be able to get to where we need to go. So we need a decision's gotta get made. So Chad's right? So I mean, we need to figure out where we're gonna go, what kind of building we want, what kind of ambulance, right, to Craig's point, what kind of ambulance and that we're gonna do. And then we need to be able to say, okay, here we go. Because we're not gonna be able to find granting and funding that way until we have a clear idea of what we're doing. Well, we can't do that until we start spending.
Can you get $500,000 in grants?
Yeah.
Grants, not loans.
Oh,
We'll have to service a loan. There'll be debt service on a loan, right?
Yeah, there's a big difference within that.
Right, so for me, it's like, that's what a big part of it comes down to, and I guess I was.
Saying that that's a priority and we can move on. I mean, we're not gonna solve it tonight and buy it, right?
No, but I think they're saying it's a priority isn't good enough.
Your estimates that you got, Chad, from
Huh?
AO is 1.2 to 1.9 for a single use building.
0.5 to 1.9 is what they guesstimated that.
New
Based
construction.
on square
Yeah.
footage. Yep.
Freestanding new construction.
I'm the oldest person in this room, but it is a really top priority.
Well, you already mentioned another priority, which is R38.
So real fast, yeah, I think we can get. I mean, kind of looking at it, Bob, there are about 14 grants out there that we can go for.
Yeah.
Not that are not part of that loan, not part of the USDA. So can we get there? I think if we work hard at it, yeah, we can get there. It's just a matter of who do we coordinate with.
I'd rather find a solution that's actionable sooner, faster.
Yeah,
To me, that's not a new construction build. That's not a standalone new building. That's an addition to an existing facility or a smaller standalone on an existing property. I think a budget of 1.5 million is out of reach if we want to do all the other things on the list. And provide and do the ambulance. I think we need to look at a smaller budget. That's just my opinion. Council's the one who votes and says, but I'd like to see a lot of these projects get done. If we spend 1.5 there, I think every project's gonna have a sacrifice in it.
And it'd be nice to have a more solid understanding of what, it just seems like there's different ideas of where it should go and whether or not services should be combined, and it just, everybody's got a different opinion, and it's just kind of, we have to think about what's best for our town in the future.
Well, services combined, you're looking at a lot larger building in the first place, but fire didn't want to involve it, they wanted to have. So
Not true, Chad.
that's what you guys
We
asked.
wanted to have a what?
Some of the issue is there, we gotta come to a consensus, I think, as far as what you guys
I don't
want.
really are, but. I agree with Julie, if you want 3 or 5 projects, I think you're looking at EMS building, the road. Trailside complex,
Sewer,
mm-hmm,
the sewer, right? I mean,
Well, we've addressed it.
well,
I understand
that's
that,
done.
but that's where.
Yeah, I think,
That's not a capital project.
Okay.
I think we've got EMS on that list. I think we all agreed that there's a library project hanging in limbo with $1 million of private donor money that's sitting there, or just under $1 million that needs clarity on pathway. And we know R38's a project, right? There's consensus R38's a top tier project, top of mind project.
Yeah, but is that a short term or is that after comp plan?
Oh, I think that's 24 months, I would say, based on the life of the road we got when we said,
That's what we're told.
I think the comp plan will come into it, but I think they've considered what future growth of Slater looks like in the design of that.
Is that a phase project too? Should be
It
considered.
could be. Right, but Rich, you've accounted for future growth to the east in the design work.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know that one needs a comp plan.
For something of that scale, it certainly seems like where all of the growth's gonna go and what road developments there's gonna be. Is there any other way to duck traffic? I don't know if you, in your drones things called Iowa State games, and my God, it's a nightmare. I'm not for being like.
But I can't believe you're gonna design a road for a half dozen games a year. You can't.
No, but just all that stuff.
But yeah, you just.
Yeah, I think they've,
The most highly used project in the community. It's got the most visibility. Has the greatest impact.
so priority. Craig agrees priority, timing is the question.
Yeah, it's gotta be done. I just wanna make sure that we.
Restated projects.
It's 3 right there.
EMS, I mean.
Yeah, so I think we EMS, R38, library are significant projects that we need to deal with. Everyone agrees with that, right? There is consensus on finding a pathway to the completion of those 3 and a timeline on those 3 would be a priority.
Like to see something else, sports complex myself.
Keep patient it, so.
Okay, so you had that.
Just keep moving it forward in the little ones.
It's that for how many years and nothing's ever been done.
Yeah, I really look at it like this, from my perspective, you look at the sports complex. I'd like to see us look at the pool, the sports complex, maybe as a joint project, and just understand that if we want to execute a project like that, it might not work together, right? Just from an investigative standpoint, look at if there was a recreational complex that had a new aquatic center and a sports complex, and just know that in order to probably really get that done, you'll have to seek public approval. Private fundraising, public approval to pass a project like that and get it done and work that plan out over a couple years, The library, R38 and EMS feel like achievable projects in a few year execution, leaving the ability to execute a lot of these lower, we have all these other things listed here too that our department head needs and wants. From a major project perspective, I think we've got our hands full with EMS, R38 and determining the next step on the library.
Perfect.
And I'd like to find the pathways to get those done. Sports complex is obviously in there. Pool is obviously something we've talked about. Outside of those major, if I said pool, sports complex, library, R38, EMS, is there any other major significant project in mind from council or staff that's like, hey, you probably ought to throw this in the mix as you start to think about it?
What about like 8th Street and Cedar, all the water mains that you've had issues with over there?
Yeah, street and water projects, I think, like. You got 200,000 for replacing the water main,
Yeah.
30 grand for hydrant. Replacement. Which have we consistently done that?
We're just starting, we
The hydrant.
want to get into that, and changing out old Iowa hydrant.
As we talk about the pool and the ball field, and in my opinion, the prettiest part of town, like a great asset, the bike trail goes through there and everything. I would love to further explore what it would cost to truly light that bike trail like Sheldon has done up north through our beautiful part of town.
Yeah, we got a little bit we're giving you for some lighting, some lower.
That's for like Severs.
Okay.
Those are like a baller, solar panel, solar powered ballers.
That's just can't do on the shell hall section, because that's all treed over, you can't get that high, can you?
You're gonna get some light, but I mean, I don't know.
You do the
Don't
lower
did
ones.
not want to light that.
Well, that's the other question, because I know they're pushed back in the direct.
Right to pave that where they are for EMS.
Where I look at it
Mhm.
is.
We
Sewer
did back
trail
up through
is more
there.
of a-
Yeah.
It's a city trail where,
It's not that perfect.
yeah, you're taking.
Time where people are actually gonna walk on it or move on it. At night, you're not gonna go for a long bike ride,
Right.
unless you have your own lights and stuff like that.
Right.
And then those lights don't really matter a whole lot.
Morning, they're going by my house.
Yeah, but you're gonna have lights on. They'll have lights on,
Yeah,
don't they?
they'll have
Yeah,
lights
they
on
have
the
all,
bikes.
they have all their own lights on.
Is there any other projects, significant ones there that? I hear what you're saying. You also have some economic development projects, I'm telling you, are coming down the pipeline, that funds would come out of some of this surplus. There's also potentially an opportunity with the Hawkins building in the future if they relocate. That's obviously a strategic piece of property if we ever want to get Main Street to the west, if we ever want to get a Main Street bike path connector. I think we can get the easement. I think we can get the easement for that already. Like they'll work with us no matter what happens to get a trail easement from the path to Main Street.
I think if anything, you want.
But it'd be really nice to, I mean, so that's gonna come up and that's change money, you know? So what else is on,
I got a ton of things, but I think they're all post comp plan. But
like, just rattle some off for us.
trail access, figuring out what we're doing about the mobile home park. There's just a ton of things. But I think having a plan is smarter than just spraying and praying.
So is your recommendation, no project moves forward until we get the comp plan
No, not none,
completed?
but the ones that are, no brainers. We need to do something for EMS. We can't just keep kicking that can down the road. The fire doors would have been one, but you already got that in this year's budget. So there's something we have to do, but any big ones that are not clear cut. I'm fine waiting on instead of throwing out things that may or may not make sense. I got pipe dreams about the connector all the way to aim for a bike path working with the Story County.
We're working on it now.
I think they passed last year for 50 minutes.
And just from perspective, will it get done in 20 years?
We'll see when we have some conversations.
Exactly. The land acquisition is the biggest challenge.
Gone.
They never will get it.
Okay, so I think if council will give consensus, I think it'd be good for staff to be able to move forward, look at, investigate, look into the grants associated, the funding, the pathway to funding, the available funds to prioritize the EMS project, addressing some portion of the R38 proposed project, the library, sports complex pool, or leave those off. That's 5, EMS R38 library sports complex pool.
That's fine.
To begin addressing those and making some recommendations as to available funding and pathway and process.
Yeah.
And we've got research for it, so I'd like to actually understand what we have now as a component of that. What our demands are and things from the users,
When you say what we have now,
the existing,
it just help me
the
understand.
existing.
What do you-
The existing.
physically?
Yeah,
Stuff.
and what they get used, what's our demand for those, I imagine Parks and Rec is a lot of the information. So put that together. So that we understand who's using them, are they,
The priority for the staff, I think, would be those top three at the moment.
yep.
EMS R38 library.
Yeah, let's move forward with those three.
Perfect. All right, let's just give it up. If someone will make a motion for staff to prioritize and work towards the execution plan on those three projects,
Which includes scheduling.
which is working towards this
Setting
plan.
the timeframe.
Yeah,
So moved.
Second.
all right. All those in favor signify with aye.
I,
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, perfect.
good journey.
Anything else anybody needed to touch
That's
on?
the first agenda. Now we gotta do the second.
All right,
Okay.
Surprise.
You know what? I did notice
a
your,
first and a second.
your font gets smaller as you
I
get
know.
closer down here to make sure it fits on one page.
Yeah.
It's very deceitful, just so you know.
Take care of the
I see that really well, so it doesn't really bother me if you're gonna go 3 pages versus that.
All those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Hi.
I
Opposed? And any abstention?
saw some cheaters the other day, and what are they using? Okay.
We got the phone.